everyone, and welcome to the Creator Series, and welcome to the second stanza of what has been a sensational season so far, where the crusade to conquer championship leader Alex Gillen, the course has been charted, but there is still a lot of work to do. It's time for some slicing and dicing in the desert. It's the Bahrain Grand Prix. I'm Carl Paranik, your presenter for tonight, here to try and paint the picture, but that cannot be done without colouring the canvas with commentary. And we've got two of the very best. In the commentary box, it's Tom Squared, it's Tom Knight and Tom Wilkinson. What a first half to Season X we have had. And starting with you, Tom Knight, Alex Gillen returns today, and even with a week off, he's still got a race win and an Inters pole in him. It's crazy, the advantage he's already developed.
It certainly is indeed. And Carl, sharing your sentiments, fantastic to be back on the broadcast. But yeah, Gillen's been dominant in the opening half of this season. Can he carry it through to that second half? We're going to be waiting to find out.
For sure, only time will tell. Tom Wilkinson, Bahrain Grand Prix, obviously completely different characteristic. Another one of the LiDAR scan tracks in F1 25. But that's so much more width to play with, and hopefully plenty of opportunities to get involved in some combat.
100%, and the changes to the circuit, the updated changes to the circuit on this game, they're small, but they're not insignificant. They are noticeable, and it does just slightly affect how you approach trying to get around the circuit. Some of the curbs are different in certain places, so it should be a good one. Typically, it's pretty good for racing as well, down to turn number one. Got some nice overtaking opportunities. Remember to the real-life race a few years ago, Verstappen versus Leclerc, those DRS games that were going on. Last time we were here, though, of course, at the end of 2024, that game cycle, we had a drive till the tyres explode, little challenge going on in, I think it was a double header, so they wouldn't have driven a full 100% race around this circuit for maybe the best part of even 12 months.
For sure, absolutely, and plenty more to talk about in terms of that Bahrain Grand Prix and the one we're about to see. But the driver's quest for perfection continues with the push for pole position, but where do they find that cutting edge? Thanks to sim racing setups, we're about to find out. Strap yourselves in, it's time for a flying lap of Sakir.
Let's take you on a ride of the Bahrain International Circuit using a setup from Sim Racing Setups. Down across the line, and let's get this lap underway. Heading down to the first corner, hard on the brakes at around about the 150 meter board. Down into second gear at the apex of turn 1, and back on the throttle and cut the curb of turn 2 and turn 3. Now rise up the hill as we get ready and set for turn 4. Car on the left-hand side, braking just before the 100 meter board. Very wide exit through turn 4. Utilize all of that and the curb on the left-hand side. Now in towards the very tricky fast right-left chicane. You could use a lot of curb through that corner, cut as much track as you can possibly get away with, but be careful not to invalidate on track limits. Now in towards the toughest braking zone of this season. Downhill, turning whilst braking, down into second gear, hit the apex, and then back on the throttle with the DRS wide open, and get this moment to take a breather with the DRS as you set yourself up for the tricky turn 10. On the brakes as well, once again in towards this left hand, and then back on the throttle as we rise up the hill once more, through the left and then the right. Use a little bit of curb on the right hand side and get the car back over to the left, ready for braking for this tricky right hander. Cut the curb again on the inside, use all of the exit curb as well, being careful not to invalidate your lap as well. So we now take on the final corner of this circuit, braking hard at the 100 meter board, down and towards fourth gear, and then third once again at the apex. Utilize all the track, exit once again as we now get up through the gears, DRS wide open, and I come across the line for a lap around Bahrain.
There you go. A comprehensive rundown of the Bahrain Grand Prix track, but looking to those drivers' standings. And there are tantalising elements in both senses, in both standings. But starting with the drivers, it is that chase for Alex Gillen. Of course, GB and co have had that week to try and steal a march on him, but even so, a race win and a bit more to try and find.
And it's interesting the momentum swings of those drivers. The main three that we're going to talk about, GB, Kareem and Raz. And GB off the back of back-to-back wins, second race in Austria, reverse direction, then winning last week in Miami, where we didn't have too many of the top guns in attendance. Kareem was one of those, and he did retire, so that was a big hit considering he had 4 consecutive podiums, and then a bit of a difficult one in the second round of Austria, and then non-scoring. So he needs to try and refine that rhythm, get into a bit of a zone. Razin has been a little bit up and down. He's also got a win. Those are the 3 drivers we're really looking at chasing down Alex Gillen. Meraki hasn't quite had the pace. Tim Malik as well, struggling with a little bit consistency. He had his best result last week of 5th since round number 1, where he came home in 2nd. He's only got 1 podium so far this season.
It's a tricky one for Tiamat Marduk. Also, by the way, looking back to last season, Kareem was that driver that won, not one, but 2 Bahrain Grand Prix. Courtesy of the double header, he would desperately love to win again this week. This is the other tantalising element, though, in my opinion. Constructors' standings are getting spicy. Look at how close it is between McLaren all the way down to even Ferrari.
Everybody's converging on each other, and that's what we want to see with the constructors. We try and make it so that it will be close at the end of the season. McLaren, obviously the reigning champions. Nick Flies has had a difficult time of it lately. Went on around 3 races without scoring points, but bagged himself a P10 7 days ago. Red Bull and Alpine, you would say, probably have the best driver lineups, but Aston Martin, you can't forget them as well. Former back-to-back constructors champions. And Ferrari just nestled in there in P5, only 30 points back. Infratic picking up that second podium of the season. He's been really impressive. His peaks are a lot higher than they have been recently or in past seasons. The troughs are still a little bit there for Fabio, but if he can get the consistency going along with Meraki, they should be right in there as well. All 5 teams, you would say, Mercedes 41 points back. I don't think they're going to be contesting unless Tiamat Marduk goes on an absolute storm at the end of the season in this second half.
Well, you never know. Stranger things have happened in the Creator Series, but I want to highlight what you said again there, and it's consistency. That's the big word of the day we need to talk about, because there has been one driver. You look at McLaren, you've got Alex Gillen, Red Bull, Kareem, you've got Alpine with Razin Chai. You look down those top 5 teams, there has usually been one driver doing consistently a lot of the legwork in that constructors battle. So like you say, and Tom Knight, going over to you, that consistency between both drivers in the team is going to be crucial, particularly with how close it is at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. To win a Constructors' Championship, you have to have both drivers operating at absolute peak efficiency. But I think when it comes down to it, especially in a championship, in a race situation where we find ourselves in the Creator Series, you've also got to have an element of luck that the reserves that step in to those weeks that you or your teammate can't make it also have those fantastic performances as well. So sometimes it's, it's performance week in, week out. Other times, it's hope and luck that the reserves do their job.
For sure. Tom Wilkinson, looking forwards to Bahrain then, particularly looking qualifying. We'll talk about this more when the race comes in as well. But with this particular track, what challenges does it bring, and what do the drivers really need to look out for tonight?
It's that C word again, isn't it? It's consistency. The tyre wear is going to be interesting. I would expect to see 2 stops unless somebody goes for a bonsai strategy, maybe if they qualify down the order. We know that Tiamat Marduk has favoured the 1 stop so far this season. He tried it both times in Austria, picked up damage early on in both races. That sort of hindered that little charge, but it was definitely a viable strategy, even though they were 2 50% races. We saw the 1 stop was fairly competitive early in the season as well. Spain, Silverstone reverse, people were trying the 1 stop, got themselves into a good position, but we haven't had really a full race with no safety cars to really see that strategy card played by everybody between the 1 and the 2 stops. So I think that's going to be the key.
Well, the one race we did have no safety cars. We in fact had to use all the tyres anyway, so it didn't matter. But regardless, we are almost getting ready for a cutthroat qualifying session. And you know what? We'll play the prediction game, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Knight, you first. Who do you think is going to take pole position tonight?
There's quite a few drivers that could really do it. I think my money tonight could be on Razin Chai. He's looked very competitive in past races. He's often one of those drivers that does really well in qualifying. So I think it could go the way of the Alpine tonight.
Tom Wilkinson, throwing your hat in the ring. What do you think?
I'm gonna go away from that. I think it will be between Kareem is obviously really quick over 1 lap. We've seen that so many times. Has struggled maybe a little bit with the feel of this game and to try and get up to speed. GB's the other one, has been incredibly quick the last couple of races. So I'm going to go for a GB Kareem front row with GB on pole.
Excellent. I'll throw my hat in the ring as well. I'll say it's between GB and Razin for tonight. But anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does. Still waiting for a couple of people to turn up. So let's throw a point into the countdown started. Never mind. We're almost ready, ladies and gentlemen, to get proceedings underway. Probably a good time now to mention our partners over at Sim Racing Setups. Use !SRS and use the code. You know what to do. But shout outs to them. They'll be helping to cook up setups for all of these drivers to get the most out of their 1 lap pace and of course over that race distance. Well, I hear the beeps in my ear. It is almost time for qualifying at the Bahrain Grand Prix. So I won't natter on anymore. Let's head over to your commentary box for tonight. Calling you through the action, it's Tom Knight and Tom Wilkinson.
Well, thank you, Carl, as always, and fantastic to have you kicking off the show for us. We're in for a thriller here, folks, under the night sky in Bahrain. The Bahrain International Circuit is our battleground for this evening. First operating in 2004, and it was also the first Grand Prix to be held in the Middle East. We're in for an absolute thriller, aren't we, Tom?
100%. It's turned into a bit of a modern classic, hasn't it? Only been off the calendar once, I believe, since that year it came into Formula One in 2004. I believe 2011 we didn't have the Bahrain Grand Prix. We've had events where we've had multiple Bahrain Grand Prix. We had the almost oval-shaped one in 2020, back in the dark ages of 2020. So it's become a bit of a fan favourite as well. We usually get some really, really nice battles here. And typically a season opener, we're running it in the Create Series halfway through the campaign. And it is a track that, with the way that career mode works as well, they will be fairly acclimatized to how to make their way, let's say, around this configuration.
It certainly will. It's been the configuration that has been pretty much standard here in Bahrain for many, many years. You mentioned that it's been season opener in Formula One multiple times, of course, since 2021 until this year, when Australia took back its rightful place as the season opener in Formula One. And if we look our minds back as well, we had 2010, where it took a special one-off appearance as the season opener, as well as 2006. So 3 different generations of first race here for Bahrain across 3 different circuit layouts as well. We obviously spoke about that oval, the outer loop as it is more commonly referred to, but it has also hosted its race in 2010 on the endurance layout of the Bahrain International Circuit. And you so rightly mentioned, it's been on the calendar ever since it joined in 2006, with one exception when there was some small uprising in 2011. But we moved swiftly past that to present day here in 2025. Our drivers are getting their foot to the floor already, with the Inter's laps coming aplenty.
100%. And we've got the Season 1 champion back in action, teaming up with one of his former teammates. It's the Safso Tim McMahon double act that is going to be taking place. No Adam Sanderson for this evening's action. The other reserves that are jumping in: Super Noodle Bagel replacing Hunju at Williams, Liam Hammond in for Nick Flies at McLaren, and Tukey, who was racing a couple of weeks ago in Mercedes, he's now in the Alpine replacing Tom Bean. So 4 reservists for you to sink your teeth into. A couple of them, though, everybody is very, very familiar with.
Absolutely. Get your predictions in chat as well. We've mentioned who we think could take pole position here in Bahrain. Let us know your predictions for both Inter's pole and, of course, complete pole position over the next 15 and a half minutes. Our drivers will just have a complete slither less than that to complete these opening Inter's runs. And just for clarification, if you are new and just tuning in to the F1 Create Series here, powered by EA Sports, they have to set these interlaps within the first 6 minutes by the time that clock strikes 12 for them to count.
And usually we do see a bit of a rush, everybody trying to get out, but there are a couple of stragglers that either don't elect to come out on the intermediate tyres, maybe thinking they want to save them, although I don't think we'll be seeing too much rain occurring in our 57-lap Grand Prix around the Bahrain International Circuit, and some of them end up sailing the intermediate time, but miles after the 12-minute countdown. So maybe some interesting tactics going on there. About 50-50 of drivers that are in the pits on an out lap and starting, or currently on the lap. Safso, the first of them, 29.4 through the first set. Usually fairly decent on the intermediate pole lap, but he invalidates, as I say that, so that is not ideal at all for our returning Season 1 champ.
Still theoretically has time to go, though. Lolly Noba does go quicker than Safso did in the first sector, 29.325. For the first of the V-car runners. Of course, their teammate, Hayden Gullis, just slightly further behind as well. They're still in the pit lane, opting not to come out. Razin Chai now takes purple in the first sector, as all of our drivers just getting accustomed to running on what is essentially the wrong tyre for the circuit at the moment.
So difficult, isn't it, with these tyre temperatures that once they get to this point of the lap are starting to skyrocket. The rear tyres in particular coming through the famously tricky turns 9 and 10. You see Lolanova, or you saw Lolanova had a bit of a wobble coming out of it. He tried to plant his right foot to the floor. 108.999 through the first couple of sectors, 39.6 through the second sector. We're waiting for the likes of Kareem 17, Razin Chai. Razin is a further 4/10 up on Lolanova through the middle sector. Kareem matching similarly enough Razin through the first sector, about half a tenth between them.
Yeah, Tukey not far off the pace at all, as Karim already coming across team radio saying it's so slidey on the exits. Lolly Noba goes fastest for the Inter's pole at the moment, 31.739. For the V-car. Can Razin Chai go quicker? He can, with the 31 flat for the Alpine. Tukey cannot improve. 1.3 seconds off the pace on the set of the intermediate. Super Noodle Bagel, though, already not opting for a set of the Inters.
100%. So this is going to be the benchmark time that we can have a look at. Cutting the beam, 30.1. I would imagine we're going to be upwards of 2 seconds potentially faster than that in this session. Razin Shah is still with that 6/10 buffer over Lolanoba, who also has 6/10 in hand over Datgovitz. But it's Kareem 7T, the reigning champion, now taking over in the intermediate pole race. Formula Kai was tracking very nicely in the first sector, but not a particularly impressive middle sector. Lost a second to, not a second, half a second to Kareem in the middle sector. That pushes him 6/10 of a second back. And Tiamat Malik going in between them. 4th place, 3rd of the intermediate runners.
Certainly. So 55 seconds left for our drivers to get their final runs done on a set of the intermediates. Next to come across the line, it's the man you all know his name. It's one Senor Alex Gillen in the Papaya McLaren. DRS opens for the end of his lap only. Makes it 3rd fastest on the McLaren's overall. Karim, though, Team Radio once again, interesting, very interesting, as he finds himself top on the intermediates for now. Gwatz, who's looked so strong on Inters, not finding the pace that he would like here this afternoon. 8th fastest on the intermediates, 9th overall. And that's Safso, I think, was trying to go for a second lap. This one does go valid, goes just below Gwatz in P10.
Got 13 seconds remaining. I don't think there's anybody else out there on the Inters that is tracking nicely. GB is in the final sector, but he looks a little bit down on the sector time, so they're being set by Kareem 17. Liam Hammond into the 28, 1.6 seconds faster than Super Noodle Bagel, 28.5. Riccio 3, fastest in the first sector on these soft compound tyres. A couple of tenths down on the Papaya McLaren. Where did he go? He misses out by 27 milliseconds. It's McLaren Williams. GB did not get a particularly good time on the Inters. He was good in the first sector, but 7 tenths down. And it will be the first point of the evening going to our reigning champion.
Certainly will do indeed. Karim sets the fastest lap on a set of the intermediates. Before that time of asking Fabio, could not go quicker than the majority of the lobby already. Maybe realised that he was not going to make the timing beam. As we saw just earlier, Riccio 3 just 27 thousandths off the pole position time set by Liam Hammond, and he does have a level 12 Squirtle. Maybe he needs to upgrade his Pokemon before he gets going for another run. The extra boost that could provide.
Yeah, the Riccio 3 side quest. Here's Hayden Gullis in his usual position of off the circuit, and there was a bit of polystyrene splattered across the circuit, so I wonder if there's maybe a bit of a kerfuffle going on. Remember back to Baku about a month ago when Kareem was on an Inters lap. Hayden was parked very much in the middle of the circuit with half a front wing. Kareem tried to go around the outside in the sweeps of the final sector and found himself losing his front left tyre. So I want to try and stay as far clear as possible from that RB car. There's definitely some interesting things going on in this final sector. Big gaggle of, what's that, 6 cars?
Yeah, something along the line. Maybe they're just recreating their favourite ever wild card that they had here in the Create Series called Styrophobia back at the British Grand Prix. It looks like they're having a little artistic interpretation of that here in qualifying.
Yes. Fond memories, I am sure. 3 drivers didn't go out to set their soft tyre runs early and didn't go out on the intermediate side. That Nogueira, usually very, very good in qualifying, 6 pole positions to the name of the current Kick Sauber driver. Tiamat Malik leaving the session. That is unusual. Usually his connection is pretty bulletproof now that he's not in Australia, so hopefully he can get back in as soon as possible. Scotty Designs, by the way, through the first sector as well, and then Hollywood Hayden Gullis. Here is the team radio from Ben. I think it should be a mid-27s if he's dialed in. That's what we're potentially thinking. Is second about that quicker than Liam Hammond. Scotty's first sector is okay without pulling up any trees.
Yeah, he won't be writing home about that first sector. Safso also leaves the session, and maybe it's a bit of a 1-2 situation. Both Mercedes leaving at very similar times. It's not the way that you would like to see the example go this afternoon. But Ben, I believe, had some issues with his internet back on the Thursday show. So maybe some gremlins that are still holding on. Being told a couple of other drivers have left the session by the names of GB and Liam Hammond. So might be some tech gremlins all along the way.
Looking like a decent lap, though, by Scotty. A 10th down in the middle sector on the benchmark set by Liam Hammond. We could have 3 drivers separated by less than a 10th of a second here as the Haas rounds the final corner, pulling gears up to the line. Will this be a mid-28 for Scotty Designs? It is a mid-28, but he's a 10th and a half clear of Liam Hammond. And that is a very, very impressive final sector from Scotty Designs, a tenth quicker than the Papaya McLaren, giving him that advantage to take the benchmark lead as Hayden Gullis slots into fourth position, almost exactly in between the two Williams drivers, but being 1.2 seconds off the pace on his set of soft compound tyres may be cause for concern. But Nogueira smashes the benchmark set by Scotty out of the park, nearly half a second clear, first driver into the 27s.
Yeah, had to come ruin the party. Unfortunately, Scotty would have been sat in that cockpit celebrating after getting what I think is probably one of the first fastest lap of the session. But alas, Nogueira had to come along and unfortunately ruin the party for the Scotsman. That guy Vince looking to once again be that guy here in Bahrain. No wins to his name, albeit 3 podiums from 81 starts, but unfortunately also 6 DNFs. That's one roughly every 15 appearances here in the Creator Series. So I wonder if we are probably expecting number 7 sometime soon. Purple in the first sector though for the Aston Martin, and let's see if he can try and improve on where he currently stands.
Yeah, we haven't actually seen too much of Vince this season. Only appeared 4 times in the opening 7 or 8 races that we have had, retired in one of them. So he's only scored points 3 times. He's been absent for 50% of the campaign. So maybe not quite as up to speed as a couple of other drivers we would expect to be battling for sort of the lower reaches of the top 10. That's usually where Vince finds himself residing, and also with that partnership with GB, usually pushing for the Constructors' Championship. Tracking pretty nicely though through the middle sector. It was a decent first sector from the Green Machine, the Aston Martin. Again, decent middle sector, matching the times from the likes of Scotty Designs and Liam Hammond, but a little bit down on Nogueira.
Yeah, still not quite reaching the heights of that kick sound, but as it stands, we'll see how it goes through the final couple of corners. Team Mardic rejoins the session. So better late than never with just under 7 minutes to go. That guy Vince comes across the line, goes fastest with a 27.882, immediately beaten by Formula Kai by over 6.5 tenths. What is Kai running here this afternoon? A 27.2. He is clear by a car and a half.
Well, Ben, we saw earlier, or heard earlier, talking about a mid-27. That's a low 27 with potential maybe to get into the 26s. Formula Kai, as he was on his Inters pole, absolutely nailed the first sector, then still had enough life left in the tyres to attack the final sector and go purple there as well. What can the championship leader do? Season 1 champion, up to the line comes Alex Gillen, Season 2 champion, I should say. He's nearly a third of a second down.
Yeah, getting a toe, or giving a toe rather, to Liam Hammond as they make their way down towards that first corner. And we do see that McLaren partnership in the first corner. That was interesting to see. Gortz up towards the line. Qualifying is normally the name of his game. A second down, though, on Formula Kai this time around. This could be an incredible benchmark set by the Haas team. Their other driver down in P6, but still could be a good result. Scott Taylor just peeking over the top of his name tag there. He's just trying to be a little bit inquisitive as to what is going on here in Bahrain. You can see the focus on his eyes. He's looking down and he's going to run up towards the line. Can he see over that cockpit enough to come across the line fast? It's going to be 9th place at a 1:28.
Not a bad lap time from Scott, but as the track improves, he will want to try and go again and knock maybe half a second off that time if he is going to be up there with the likes of Gwatz. Here is GB, the man I tipped to try and take pole position. I might be retracting that state with Formula Kai, the speed that he has shown in that Haas car. What can the Green Machine do? The second Green Machine cutting the beam, jumps up into 3rd place, a 10.5 clear of his teammate, but a further nearly 2 tenths off the back of Alex Gillen. Half a second down on Formula Kai with 5 minutes to go.
These are just insane numbers. I don't think I've seen a lobby, at least here in the Create Series, that has been so separated between the front 3. Normally, it's only milliseconds between our drivers, and now there is a clear bit of daylight. We have yellow flags down the back sector. Meraki making his way down into one of the most difficult corners on this circuit. Careful not to lock up the front left like he has just done, but he's going to continue to push his Ferrari round in toward the 3rd sector. Let's keep an eye on his sector times. 29.1 in the first sector. Still room for improvement as Formula Kai did a 28 flat in the first.
That is absolutely rapid. I think a quarter of a second clear of anybody else just in the first sector. That's where the main advantage is. Jake is going fairly nicely, although the rear of that Ferrari looks a little bit unstable, not too dissimilar to the struggles that Lewis Hamilton has been having in real life. Just a couple of corners to go. This isn't the final corner because there is this flat-out turn number 15 that nobody really realises is actually a corner. I think he's going to dive into the pits. I was going to say, if he does want to get a second run in this session, going to have to get his skates on. Bails out of that one. Tukey first representative time on the board, jumps up into 10th, just nestled inside the top 10, a second off the pace.
Certainly does. All of our drivers now on a sort of weird midpoint. 3 minutes and 45 seconds left in our qualifying session. Liam Hammond, who's invalidated. Sasso, who looks to be getting himself squared up and ready. Razin Chai comes over the team radio. He says he's going to go for a lap, recharge, then go again. I'm assuming on the same set of tyres, and that could be a bold strategy for the Alpine outfit, seeing if they can get a set of tyres to last. 2 push laps, which they infamously have not been able to do well, at least here in Bahrain.
Yeah, you're going to have to baby them on that cool-down lap. Razin Chai going realistically late here. We haven't seen anything of Tim Malik either, or Kareem 70, so they're leaving it late as well. Razin Chai, another driver that was tipped to have a very good qualifying session. Did some decent form as Razin second 7 days ago in Miami, despite a slightly controversial collision between himself and his good friend Kareem 70 that saw the back of the Red Bull driver in the race. You can see it there. 3 podiums in the last 4 events, including that win at Baku. That was spectacular, wasn't it, with the slipstream giving a nice helping hand by his friend Tom Beeler, the 2 Alpine drivers.
That was such an unexpected bit of teammateship, teamwork between the 2 of them. I didn't see it literally until we came, I think, round turn 16. We spotted the Alpine in the distance, and it was just fantastic work between the 2 of them. You could see and hear the reactions of all the other drivers on the recap and the meme recap, just what was going through their minds as we do see this other Alpine appear out of the distance and give the tow to Razin. He'll be very saddened today that he has no Tom. I believe it is his birthday, so he's not racing.
And we wish him happy birthday. Of course, it seems to be Tom's birthday every single weekend. Razin Chai was about a couple of tenths down on Formula Kai in the first sec, but if that graphic is right, he has absolutely blitzed the middle sector 6 tenths quicker than Formula Kai if our telemetry is right, which I'm almost not trusting here, because this could be a bonsai lap from our Season 5 champion. Rounds the final corner with that beautiful pink and blue Alpine as he cuts the V. Was this a 26 for Razin Chai? Not quite. It's a 27 flat. Gauntlet thrown down to Formula Kai. Nearly 2 tenths down. How's your work now, everybody behind? What a middle sector from Razin. The only driver within the same stratosphere as Alex Gillen, who was still 3 tenths down on Razin's middle sector.
What a lap. Sector after sector, nearly perfection for Razin Chai, but as you said, it was that second sector he really nailed down. Purple middle first sector for Hayden Gullis, according to Game 1 podium from 72 starts with 2 DNFs. Saying don't talk about Choco League for those DNFs. I'm assuming that's not for DNFs, probably for pole positions. But we will continue to go through. It's certainly not a purple sector for Hayden Gullis, especially in the first. He's still about 6 tenths of a second down. We are seeing that Karim is going fast, though, as well, as he makes his way through the middle sector.
Wasn't a personal best in Sector 1, but pretty much matched the time they attempted beforehand. 29.1, I'm seeing. That's actually not matched. It's not a particularly fast first set, so I wonder if maybe Karim had a little bit of traffic.
I think that would be the assumption. Not quite sure what's gone on. Interesting to know. I think Formula Kai has just done a purple Sector 3 on an outlap. I might be misreading the statistics there, but Karim does go purple first sector, or at least
it's come through now, yes.
Yeah.
A little bit delayed, I think, the telemetry we're looking at. Good luck from Hayden Gullis, though, up into P9. Whether he'll stay there, it remains to be seen. But here is the reigning champion. A couple of corners left to negotiate. Blitz the first sector. Middle sector's all right. What is the final sector going to be? Can he produce a late lap to get into the 26s? Of course he can. It's the reigning champion we're talking about. A tenth and a half clear of Razin Chai, who won't be going again. What have you got now, Formula Kai? What have you got now, Alex Gillen?
This is it. Game, set, and possibly match for Karim 70. The checkered flag flies here in Bahrain. Fabio towards the line, 6th fastest is all he can achieve on the last time of asking. Next across the line will be, I believe, it was Super Noodle Bagel down in 17th place. We got one of the McLarens. This is Alex Gillen coming around the final corner now. Can he improve where he stands in P4 is a good middle few sectors for himself. Crosses the line, second fastest, with a 130,000th of a second between himself and Karim. Razin Chai will start at best from the second row. Formula Kai splits that difference. 26 thousandths of a second between himself and Karim, but Karim's still on top. But Ben Daly cannot improve either. Fifth fastest for himself. Liam Hammond towards the line, 13th for the McLaren. Can Meraki try and end a bit of a cold spell here for Ferrari? Can he try and challenge the pole? He'll run up towards the line. He starts last at the moment. Anything will be an improvement. 7th for the Ferraris. Can GB improve? Is he on a lap as well, or is this an in-lap? No, he is improving. Comes to the line. 5th fastest for GB. Gullis gets disqualified, drives the wrong way, and that will be the V-Carb starting from dead last.
Hayden clearly allergic to starting anywhere other than P20, but what a lap that was from Kareem. What a response though from Formula Kai as well. 26 milliseconds separated them. Alex Gillen coming in late as well, getting a good lap time to get himself third on the grid. Meraki will take P8, had a few trials and tribulations throughout the session. The rear of that Ferrari, I said, looking very unstable. And our presenter Carl is talking of a similar game. A lot of drivers struggling with the rear instability, but Kareem, driving Max Verstappen's car, one of the drivers that can deal with rear end instability and showing that once again. Good laps from Razin and GB inside the top 5. And I think Tim McMahon will be pretty satisfied with P6 as well. Only went for that one flying lap on the softs at the end of the session, just half a second down inside the top 6. Very much game on.
Certainly is indeed. We saw Meraki over the team radio happy with a P8 appearance, or a P8 start, shall we say, as he starts one place ahead of his teammate Fabio. And the golden rule in racing is always beat your teammate. Well, Meraki's done that here in qualifying this afternoon. Scotty Designs, by the way, starts down in 16th place. But here is your complete rundown of the order for the racing. Karim starts from pole with Formula Kai on the front row with him. Row 2 is Gillen and Chai. GB and Tim Monacold rivals line up in 5th and 6th, with 7th Lolly Nova, 8th is Meraki, 9th is Fabio, 10th goes to Noiguera, who set a stonker of a lap to start and couldn't quite hold it until the end. That guy Vince from 11th, Safsto 12th, Gwatz in 13th, Liam Hammond in 14th, 15th is Ricky, Scotty Designs, by the way, in 16th, Tukey, Scott Taylor, Super Noodle Bagel through to 19th, and then Hayden Gullis in 20th as he was disqualified. Back to you, Carl.
Thank you very much, guys. Well called as always, you two. And to echo your sentiments again, what a pleasure it is to be back. It couldn't be better. And what a qualifying session we had as well. Topsy-turvy all the way through. It looked like Formula Kai had smashed out of the park, but then you had Razin come through with a potential strategy. Couldn't quite get it over the line to push for that second lap, but Tom Knight, the cream of the crop, rises to the top. He's only gone and bagged pole.
He certainly has. A fantastic lap from Karim. Battery management is absolutely superb, and that's what it's really about. The straights at Bahrain are just so long. If you don't have DRS, and this is probably more focused in the race, if you don't get that slipstream, that toe, you are going to be a sitting duck for overtakes.
He also got a cheeky toe from Razin towards that last corner, so perhaps those extra 300ths of a second propelling him to pole position, but we'll never know. It's all hindsight. But over to you, Mr. Wilkinson. It's quite interesting, actually, watching that qualifying session, because it seemed like a lot of the drivers were actually really struggling out there. They got the time in the end, but particularly the rear tyres, screaming for dear life when coming into the race. That's going to be a pretty big point of conversation.
100%, and it's only going to be expanded on in the race, isn't it? Heavy fuel, slightly less grippy tyres, the mediums and the hards, probably we're going to see them a fair amount. You've got to keep those rear tyres alive. I'm going to be interested to see if we can see Alex the Moaning Missile, as he's been coined already. Petition's been sent out for everybody to try and get involved with, but yeah, going to see how they manage with that. Got to manage the rear tyres. Front tyres, can't forget them as well. A lot of high load corners in particular in that middle sector, got to be careful. Tyre temperatures probably won't be too much of a factor. Engine temperatures, though, we mentioned how the slipstreaming works, how the following works. You can't be following too close. You've got to try and get that fresh air, especially at a race like Bahrain.
Of course, I mean, but over halfway through the season now, we're getting into this round number 7, and, you know, like we say, dirty air, that has been probably the biggest talking point in a lot of these races in terms of how you navigate it, how you extrapolate the most pace possible. So what kind of learnings do you think they've taken, Tom Knight? What kind of approaches will they adjust in their driving style to try and gain as much as possible tonight?
I think it's a real different approach here at Bahrain compared to some of the other circuits that we have on the calendar here, because you can follow so closely at a circuit like this, but almost F1 25 denatures wanting to be able to do that. So you've got to readjust your driving style, maybe hang back just a little bit more, focus on your battery management, focus on your DRS management, and almost wait for some other drivers to make mistakes a little bit more than you would, let's say, other circuits.
And let's talk about Tom Wilkinson. Let's gloss over to Miami, but also across quite a lot of this season as well. In terms of, I think, a big question, particularly after Miami with the contact between Razin and Kareem that might have been running around, is what point do you try and fight a move? Do you fight it so much to try and make them? I mean, it's the creator series. We're not complaining, it's content. But also, how much do you actually hinder yourself and others, particularly last week when Alex Gillen wasn't there to get those most points possible? So the psychology's got to change at this point in terms of how much they fight some battles and whether it's just better to play that patient game.
I think that's the best way to put it. You've got to know the race that you're in. If there's somebody behind you that say they're starting on the soft tyres, coming towards the end of their stint, you're on the mediums or hards, you don't really want them overtake you, because you're going to have to re-overtake them in a couple of laps time. You're going to get a whole face load of dirty air in the process of doing it. So you put it perfectly. Pick your battles. You've got to be careful who you race. You've got to look after the tyres, look after the fuel. Can be a heavy fuel burner as well. We haven't spoken too much about that. I think towards the end of the race, though, that's where you'll see drivers becoming a little bit punchier. Somebody is, say, 5th or 6th, trying to get to maybe the podium. Maybe if they're still in the lead DRS train, give themselves a late opportunity to make a late race charge to win the race. That's where you'll see some moves. Maybe some late dive bombs into turn number 1, the same into turn 4.
Well, we're concocting up an absolute cauldron of race day in a matter of moments' time, so we'll play the prediction game again. First blood to Kareem, taking pole position, but Tom Knight, who's going to take that race win?
It's a tough one, because qualifying and racing are so two different aspects of what we have in the Creator Series. You have how quick are you in over one lap versus how good are you avoiding incidents. Let's be completely honest and open here. I think we could see a couple of drivers from the pack, maybe Hayden Gullis get a podium, but if we're talking out and out wins, I'd love to see Safso come back through the field from 12th to finish up at the top.
That would be a fruitful fairy tale indeed. Tom Wilkinson, what do you think?
I would be a big fan of Safso getting back onto the podium. I don't think we have the stat to hand, but it's been, 700 days maybe since he last won in the F1 Creator Series? Somebody's going to have to fact check that. I'm sure Gareth Allen will be straight on that one. I'm looking at Tim McMurdoch and Alex Gillen, though, two drivers that have got a decent history around the circuit. They usually perform well at Bahrain, starting relatively towards front. Alex Gillen's the big one we've got to look out for, trying to get that 4th win of the season. He is... Gareth wasn't listening. Darn it, Gareth. Pay more attention. Get on the ball, mate. Alex, though, going for that 4th win of the season, trying to just get some of the momentum back. He is on the back of, obviously, missed Miami, but a couple of second places in the Austria doubleheader. It's not like he's in bad form. He's got a worse finish of 4th this season. That's how we saw Tim McMurdoch win the championship a couple of seasons ago, where he was so consistent. I think he only finished outside the top 5 once in season 8. That's what we're seeing from Alex Gillen. If he doesn't win, I don't think he'd be too disappointed.
Couldn't agree more with you, but I think I'm gonna throw Kareem in the ring for the win, provided he stays in the lead. I think that's the biggest thing we've probably learned watching particularly the first 2 rounds. Stay in the lead, because, as a certain Oscar Piastri said, Tom Knight, clean air is king.
It certainly was. Apologies, I've lost my composure. I've been reading Twitch chat. I really should learn not to do, because Twitch chat really breaks me. A Dead Cow has put in there, someone's talking about Fabio's hairline, and someone said it looked like a Lego brick. Congratulations, Dead Cow. You've made me laugh on broadcast. Unfortunately, we have a counter for that in our Twitch chat. It's been 16 times that someone has broken me.
Somehow Alex Gillen's been Alex Gillen's been drawn into this one, by the way. We weren't even mentioning him in the hairline discussion. Now, JMA Phillips has come in saying he's got no hair at all. I mean, where's the need for that?
It's an absolute battlefield, but you know what? Let's cut the conversation. It's time to get to some rapturous racing. Let's join back with your commentary duo for this evening. It's Tom Knight and Tom Wilkinson.
Well, here we go then, folks. Formation lap is underway. Absolutely stellar timing, as always, from Carl, our race host, as we get ready for what is the warfare before the warfare here in Bahrain. Already a little bit of a bump by Karim. I believe that may be Alex Gillen going for an early shower. Kai goes for an early shower on this formation lap. The bumping has already begun, and we're not already through the first 3 corners. Kai will start with cold tyres, as will Vince and Tukey as well. But Tom, as we see Karim17 taking, let's just say, a unique line and somehow doing a nose, I don't know, what do you call that?
He got sucked into the Earth's crust there. That was incredible downforce produced by the Red Bull. Back to 2023 Red Bull Racing. What was your question, TK? We got slightly distracted.
I was going to ask, what's it like you've got to have warm tyres, especially for a race like this. We're in the night. Yes, it's still really warm in Bahrain, but how critical is it going to be to heat the tyres up at the moment when you know second place is starting from cold?
It's going to be very important. Kai will most likely be more on the defensive because of the situation he's in. He'll be looking at his mirrors a little bit more, even though he's starting on the front row. And realistically, when you normally start on the front row, you've only got one target, and that's the driver starting alongside you. But watch out for GB. We're looking at him now. He's on the hard tyres. Remember back a few weeks ago in Baku, Alex Gillen, I think, qualified in third, started on the hard tyres, just plummeted through the field a little bit in the early stages, dropped down to about 7th or 8th. Yes, he was entangled a little bit with his main sparring partner, Tim at Marlin. But if you can't get those hard tyres working and singing in the opening couple of laps, you are going to find life very, very difficult. It's early pain for long-term gain. Can GB try and make it work?
That's the question, to see how it all goes. Drivers getting themselves prepped and ready. We lose, 6-7 drivers from the formation lap. Kai, Tiamat Marduk, Vince, Liam Hammond, Scotty Designs, by the way, Tukey and Hayden Gaius, all of those not make it through the formation lap. Gillen, despite not racing last week, I'm assuming that last week, not like week, Gillen still has a championship lead of 26 over GB68. All of our drivers are lining up. We have Scott Taylor pulling into the background there as the last car to make his way to his designated grid position. 20 cars on the grid here for the Gulf Air Bahrain Grand Prix. The lights will begin to light immediately. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And for the Bahrain Grand Prix, the lights go out and we go racing. Kai almost stalls off the line. Razin Chai immediately trying to take advantage. Karim, though, leads towards the first corner. Alex Gillen to the outside. Razin Chai tries to hold a move to the inside line. Side by side they run through the opening few corners of this circuit. It's still Alpine that rules supreme with Gillen in third. Formula Kai dropping all the way to fourth. And GB and Tiamat Marduk side by side as they battle through the top of the fourth corner. But look at the gap that Karim has pulled already. Over 1 second advantage from the front two as he comes over the team radio. Razin has had an absolute rocket start, and that he has hit on.
He's had the rocket start, but it's Karim that is absolutely flying off into the distance, scampering away already, like you said, breaking that 1 second window. Kai had to get his elbows out into turn number 1 and did so, forcing GB slightly wide, showing in the door. And GB, like we predicted, just struggling in the early stages on those hard tyres. Tim Barnett's come through. Infratix's come through as well, although the Aston Martin is still glued to the rear end of the Scarlet Ferrari car. But now it's Safso nipping at his heels as well from 5th on the grid. That's down to 8th now.
Yeah, Safso started down in P12, of course. He now makes his way up to 7th. This could be the day that Safso dreamed of over several races gone by. He's starting on the softs, of course, a few drivers on the hards. There'll be Scott Taylor and GB as well, looking to go long in this Grand Prix. 3 wide, we almost saw further back, with that guy Vince trying to challenge the likes of Gwatz and Lolly Nova. Lolly Nova now trying to defend from Gwatz, who went to the inside of that penultimate corner, gets the move done, as does Vince, who finds his way through. Fastest lap to Karim17 with 1.5 seconds advantage. Formula Kai thinks about a move to the inside, fake to the inside, goes to the outside, hoping Alex Gillen was going to make a mistake, but that is not how you tempt a world champion into going deep into a corner.
Yeah, it was a late defence from Gillen. I think it was just about okay as he is sitting duck. Now he's brave on the brakes into turn number 4, locks up the front right tyre ever so slightly. Maybe a love tap from Formula Car as well, who'll be desperate to try and use the performance of these soft tyres in the early few laps of this Bahrain Grand Prix. Alex Gillen staunch in his defence for the time being, though, holding firm in position number 3, but has lost 0.8 of a second to Razin Chai in front of him. I think the leading pair both on the soft tyres. Alex Gillen on the mediums, as is Tiamat Marduk and Infratic. No, Infratic is on the softs. And look at GB now down in P10. Make that P11 as Mraki, who's equally had a fairly poor start by his standards, battling away around the outside of turn number 10. Surely it's the Ferrari who's going to have the traction coming out of it. Is GB going to get bumped out of the top 10 after starting from P5?
Certainly looking that way. The hard tyres just haven't fired up as much as he would have liked in the opening stages of this Grand Prix. Karim still leads 2 seconds is the advantage now. He'll be hoping, praying and begging to whatever God he believes in that there is not a safety car in this race if he wants to try and continue to pull away from the front pack, because if my maths is correct, he could be eligible for a safety car free stop in the next 10 or so laps. But we do continue at the moment. Meraki sat in P10. He's got both Aston Martins in front and behind. As we break our way through, a little bit of a gap, little bit of relief for all of our drivers, and they start to stand on ceremony here.
Through goes Formula Kai. We thought it was going to happen on the previous lap. Does happen at the start of lap number 3. In position number 3 changes hands between Kai and Alex Gillen, who have had their comings and goings so far this season. Banged heads a couple of times, but it's Kai that comes out on top on this occasion. And now look at what we have on our hands now. Alex Gillen P4, Tim at Marduk P5. With Alex Gillen's position in the championship, Tim at Marduk's position in the championship. He's got absolutely nothing to lose. Nice little 3-car scrap down to turn on 4 as well. It's Lolanoba, who has also lost places off the start. Nagera just holding off the assault from Riccio 3. Bit of contact though, and a bit of a bump and run. And through goes the Williams, who now falls off the circuit in the process.
I think that was a little tap in the rear by Riccio 3. He caused Maguire to go deep into the corner and then actually has just benefited by swooping around the outside. But the battle once again focuses on what is old rivals here in Bahrain. We saw the drama and the chaos that happened in Baku, and I have a feeling we are ready for some similar fireworks here this afternoon. It's Ben in 5th with Alex in 4th. He's surrounded by old friends and foes alike. Who is going to make the first jab, I wonder?
Well, what I would say is these soft tyres, at this stage of the race, look absolutely mighty. Kareem, this is Formula Kareem stuff that we were seeing in season number 9 a few months ago, where he qualified on pole and then just walked away. Sebastian Vettel-esque, Max Verstappen-esque in that Red Bull Racing car. He's got 2.5 seconds already on the head tops of everybody else behind, who is still just about holding on to the DRS train until you go down to Meraki and GB, who are just struggling to cling onto the coattails of the drivers in front of them. Guat's good start as well. I think he was 13th or 14th on the grid. Now up into P8 ahead of Datka Vince, ahead of Meraki and GB. And it's Meraki 1.2 seconds off the back of Vince. That is slightly concerning for the former champion. Locking the rears into turn number 1 goes Hayden Gullis. Almost takes a couple of cars with him. Scotty Designs definitely had a big hit in the backside, but it's Hayden now reaffirming his position in position number 20.
Was that ambitious? Was that a little bit silly from Hayden there? Are we being told Razin is struggling with his brakes? I wasn't expecting to see something similar from the man that started from P20 completely sideways in towards that first corner, and that's not the way you want to go about. Scotty Designs, by the way, on the back of Tuki here. Will he go to the inside? He does! Late on the break, Scotty Designs, by the way. Fantastic stuff from the Haas. Does he have it in the traction zone as we run down towards one of the most difficult corners on this racetrack? Things about a switchback? No. Plays the safe game. We're only 4 laps into 57 here. He is going to play the patient one.
Tim Marduk, by the way, has got ahead of Alex Gillen. We've missed that somewhere, but they've obviously been trading punches. Look at that start from Formula Kai. The replay of what happened on the first lap could not get the power down. No temperature in those tyres. Razin got off like an absolute missile. Alex Gillen tried to send it around the outside, but was met with the full force of the Alpine. Another slide coming out, as you could just see there. Formula Kai getting his elbows out. It was an important move to make, just holding off, repelling the assault from GB68 around the outside. And that is what has got Formula Kai back up into position number 3. Alex Gillen seems to be struggling a little bit with race pace here, though. Almost a second off the back of Ben.
Certainly is indeed not the way that he'd like to go, and you can see just how much that frustrated Formula Kai from the race start. He had such a good qualifying. He was hoping to try and make it a good race start, but we spoke about tyre temperatures in that formation lap, and we weren't quite expecting it to cause that much of a deficit to our front runner, but alas it has. He's recovered one of the positions, but look at the deficit between the second and first now, over 3 seconds as we are on lap 5. 4 laps completed out of 57, and everybody else starting to make their way through as well. We watch on board with Guatz, who's trying to chase down Safso. He's up 5 positions from where he once started in this Grand Prix. Tuki is the first to pick up 3 seconds worth of penalties for multiple track limit violations, and he will not be happy about that, especially so early on into this Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's incredibly early. Halfway around lap number 5, and now you've just got to drive within yourself a little bit to make sure that it doesn't snowball and see those penalties start to mount up. 6 seconds, 9 seconds, 12 seconds, and then the rest in the future as well. We can see the first real break in the DRS train, excluding Cream. Back to Razin here is Meraki and GB, who are going to have to work together at this stage. 1.4 seconds off the back of that guy, Vince. This effect of the DRS, even in this game, we know that the dirty is king, but in this game, you've got to stay within 1 second of the car in front, because it will just ruin your race if you drop further back. Yes, you can maybe keep the tyres alive a little bit, and that could be what Jake is trying to play, but they're just going to have to work a little bit harder to get back into the DRS zone. And this is Kareem Airlines, as it's been called, almost getting sucked into the turf.
That is one heck of a dramatic run that he's had there this afternoon. I've had a few cautious moments on F125 as he does try and make his way through, but alas, he probably wasn't expecting to go quite as airborne as he did in that situation. 6 out of 57 we have at the moment, and we are making our way through. Both Aston Martins regrouped on the leaderboard as we have GB defending miraculously from Meraki and Lolly Nova as well. They're trying to progress through and dispatch GB that started on the hard tyres, but at the moment, their efforts are looking fruitless.
Does look like those white stripe tyres have started to sing 6 laps too late for the Aston Martin driver. They are coming to him now. It just needs to try and find the 8/10 per second, pull them somehow out of his back pocket to get back into this race. Still a long way to go, of course, over 50 laps remaining of the Bahrain Grand Prix, but just has Meraki now comfortably at arm's length, 6/10 per second further back.
Absolutely, and we do make our way through. Kai's still on the back of Razin Chai. Ben's still on the back of Kai as well. They're still fairly close together all the way down to P9. You can see the gaps on the leaderboard on the left-hand side as they do make their way onto the 7th lap of this Grand Prix. Karim still well and truly out in the distance compared to everybody else as we make our way through down towards the first corner. Are we going to see any moves in towards this first corner? It's all nice and progressive, and I think Kai thought about a little lunge maybe to try and get in the mirrors of Razin Chai and to cool his tyres.
100%. Doubling up, just trying to maybe spook the Alpine and also cool the car. That is very late on the brakes from Meraki, almost clattered into the rear of GB, down into the braking zone of turn number 1, muscles his way through back into 10th place, but this time there is contact. GB leaving his nose alongside the Ferrari, and it's Meraki going for a half spin, losing a couple of places. An absolutely befuddled look on the face in the bottom right-hand of the screen. The arm comes up in frustration as well as he drops into this second chasing group of cars with Riccio 3, Tuki Nogueira and Scotty Desires.
Danny going through quads over the team radio. I've got no battery. I really can't defend, and that's not good news if you are sat in P8 at the moment, hoping to try and progress through. He's got that guy Vince on just the rear of that Red Bull race. He got deep in towards that corner, and I wonder if he not only is facing battery issues, but also facing issues where he is, well, has an issue with his brake pedal. Yeah, skill issues, brake issues, all the likes that we have seen in the Create Series amongst the years as well.
Yeah, you called it deep. I would almost say he was drowning there off the circuit. He was so far away from the apex. Put a missing person notice out because I did not spot him at the apex of turn 9 or turn number 10. I think maybe the soft tyres for Quartz starting to struggle. He said he had absolutely no battery left as well, so just can't quite keep up with the group in front. But he has given himself, 4, maybe 5 seconds over the second chasing group of Lolanoba, GB, Riccio 3 and Meraki, of course. So he's got himself in a good position, but I think he is going to fairly easily relinquish position number 8 as that Gavin pulls out. DRS back is wide open, and that is 8th place for the Aston Martin.
Absolutely make our way through, and it's still Gwatz that can hold on to position here. Of course, top 10 would be a good finish here in the F1 Create Series. Still a lot of points as we watch from the rear wing of Razin Chai making his way through, trying to hold off Formula Kai. Meraki over the team radio. Why did GB break 5 miles early? Well, I wonder if there's a little bit of carnage and chaos between the Ferrari and GB, who now stands, 2 positions above that Scuderia. Maybe that's what's got Meraki just to drop back.
Well, I mean, it was the instant that we saw. I don't think turn 1 really had anything to do with it. I think it was maybe a miscommunication between the pair of them. We didn't have the greatest of camera angles as GB's now getting attacked by Riccio 3. He's pushed him down a further spot. GB does have front wing damage from that contact between himself and Meraki, and his race going from bad to worse. This is possibly the worst 8 laps GB's had in his entire Create Series career. Meraki, I think, will try and put some manners on the drive that sent him into a little bit of a half spin. Everything has paused, though. We don't know what's going on. We're back live with Alex Gillen in the final sector.
It was one of those moments where it's had a green grass Gareth Allen has left the session. No. We had a bit of a freeze, but in the words of Horrible Histories, but not for long, as we have a backup feed, and that is why we love our producer in the back, has and made sure that they have at least one backup account here this afternoon and can keep that race feed coming for you. So fingers crossed that the backup feed does not crash. That's the one that we are now banking on. But at the moment, Gillen on the back of Tiamat Marduk, on the back of Kai, on the back of Chai, as we make our way through on towards the 9th lap. You can see Fabio just in the distance and Safso trying to make their way through.
Yeah, they've dropped Safso, this chasing peloton, trying to close the gap to Kareem. They've just stemmed the flow, hovering around 3 seconds. I think Lolinoba potentially, yes, missing his left-hand end plate as well. So definitely some skirmishes and some kerfuffles going on in the lower reaches of the top 10 and just outside of it, as Lolinoba now being put under pressure from Ricky 03, tries to go around the outside of turn number 4, can't quite make a stick on that one, tries to cut back, got to be careful of the Scarlet Ferrari and Meraki. They don't roll out the red carpet for the driver in position number 12, the Season 4 champion, of course, but we remain as we were. That is until Lolinoba is ever so slightly wide, and that opens the door, waves through Ricky 03, who's braver on the brakes. And I think that Williams should complete that move, especially with the front wind down, as though Lolinoba, we know that he likes to get his elbows out, sometimes razor blades, sometimes they're daggers on the elbows of the RB driver. Clean around the outside, once again goes Ricky 03. Meraki still glued to the rear end of both of these cars, trying to follow in the footsteps of whoever comes up trumps in this battle. It's the Williams of Ricky 03, Meraki still holding position 12.
Certainly so. It's all as she wrote at the moment. We'll progress our way through. Ricky's got an almighty bout of defending to do if he wishes to try and hold some drivers behind. He'll be looking to the likes of maybe Super Noodle Bagel, his teammate who is at the rear of this train, to maybe come give him a bit of a helping hand. You can see him just cresting over the top of the hill there as we do make our way through. But Ricky, out in no man's land, he is defenseless when that DRS becomes in play.
And Kai up into P2, using the DRS to get ahead of Raz and Chai. GB on the hard tyres, but with the front wing damage, is going to have to put those hard tyres to rest. Maybe pick them up later in the Grand Prix, but I would find that very, very unlikely. The first pit stop of the race. The driver that started in P5 was on the hard tyres, tumbled through the field down to 11th, then picked up damage with that contact between himself and Meraki. Things have really spiraled for GB, and considering he is back-to-back on a run of back-to-back race wins, this has not been a good start.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely heartbreaking for GB. New mediums go on to the Aston Martin, as well as a new front wing, maybe deciding that he can't quite carry on with that damage as it was at the moment. That could explain maybe why Meraki thought he broke a little bit early for that turn 1 incident. But alas, we make our way through. The gap between Kai and Karim now slowly coming back towards a manageable distance for the Haskar, 2.7 seconds. Remember, folks, at one point this was over 3 seconds long, and it is the Red Bull that will have to try and hold off Formula Kai. I wonder if we're seeing some battery charging going on for our leader at the moment.
Potentially, yeah, you can see the red light flashing at the back of the car. It's 0.4 of a second slower than pretty much everybody in that second train behind. Kai is very wide, though, coming out of the final corner. That must have been a warning picked up. I don't think so on the telemetry, but he's going to leave himself maybe vulnerable to Raz and Char. I think he kept that right foot absolutely planted to the floor of the Haas car. And that's going to keep him in second position for the time being. Tim Malik is very close as well. Those mediums will be starting just to come to fruition over the soft tyres as we come on to start lap number 11. Do not be surprised if Tim Malik and Alex Gillen start to make some moves in the next couple of laps.
I think so, and we'll keep an eye. Lolinoba dropping down a couple of positions, and what is going on there? Ricky 03 got past, as does Meraki up to P11. We see a complete front wing damage for GB there. What has happened to that Aston Martin?
Somebody's stolen his nose cone. That is not ideal. Look at this gaggle of cars. 4 cars scrap into turn number 4. It's Lolinoba and Ricky having it out once more. Meraki still mired in the midfield down in position number 12, trying to hold off an assault from Tukey in the Alpine behind. It's Lolinoba and Ricky 03 still trying to sink their teeth into one another. The RB falls off the circuit. That gives an opportunity for Meraki to be very brave and bold on the brakes, but a little bit unsteady and not giving a lot of light of day on the outside either.
Certainly so. It's still close. Lolinoba to the outside. Meraki dives to the inside, gets the move done, and that is absolutely fantastic for the Scuderia. But they're still side by side. Lolinoba comes back at him with the DRS in his favour. Does he go late on the brakes? No, but he's got wing damage. Front left missing. He's going to try and swing it to the inside. Meraki holds the outside. The outside line was quicker on this occasion. Lolinoba holds firm. But that damage, how long is he going to be able to last here?
Well, he's been lasting for the last few laps, but look at that, 1.4 seconds now to Ricky. As Infratic is into the pits. Razin Chai gets back ahead of Formula Kai, and that is game face for the Season 4 champion Meraki into the final corner. He's got to try and get past this RB unless he dives into the pits. Well, it's Lolinoba who jumps off into the pits, and Meraki saying thank you very much for holding me up for the last 3 laps, and then going into the pits as soon as I'm going to pass you. And just to make matters worse, through goes the Alpine of Tukey as well.
He certainly does. Can he try and attack Tukey in front of him? He looks like he's a very strong force in the corners, not necessarily as much on the straight line speed to the inside. A little bit of a switch back from Meraki there. Rear wing opened, but he doesn't quite have the straight line speed. He's only side by side in towards the right-hander. Gets the move. He goes later on the brakes, and that affords him the extra little bit of space. But Tukey tries to switch back there. Still wheel to wheel inside to the Alpine. Can't quite have the speed on the inside line there. And that should be wham bam, thank you ma'am, as he looks for a dive. Can't quite have it. Meraki will now try and pull away.
Well, he nearly clattered into the Ferrari, didn't he, Tukey? Had the anchors slammed on as hard as he possibly could. A little bit of a lock-up there from Meraki. It's actually Tukey that's maybe put off by the plumes of smoke deployed by the car in front of going slightly wide of the apex into turn 10, and now he's going to have to deal with Nogueira, who's been very quiet so far in this Bahrain Grand Prix. Just a little bit lacking in pace, Nogueira. 6-time pole sitter, of course, but never picked up a race victory. Formula Car, I think, is starting to struggle as well. Big wobble coming out of the final corner also for the Haas driver. This leading group of 3 all on the soft tyres, then Ben and Alex on the mediums. They've got to be careful of Infratic as well, who threw the sucker punch with the undercut a couple of laps ago. He should, in theory, come out ahead of all of these cars. As Ben very close to the back of Kai, just caught short a little bit by the braking of the Haas. Alex Gillen sensed the smallest of opportunities, but couldn't quite get close enough to make it stick.
Still holding on though, rear wing open for all of our drivers. Gillen and Ben both on the charge of Kai and Chai as we make our way through contact. As Timo Mardik goes far too deep, spins out Formula Kai, and you can see his car in the background in the off of the distance. That is an uncommon mistake from Timo Mardik, who sent it a little bit too hard on the brakes, taps the Haas car, falls not 1 but 2 positions as Gillen gets by.
Well, we saw it at turn number 1. Timo Mardik was caught out by Kai's braking, maybe thinking he could brake later than he could, and then we see rinse and repeat into turn number 4.
Absolutely is. GB down in 17th place after Meraki does head in towards the pits. 18th place for the Scuderia Ferrari. Ben comes over the radio, and probably the most British explanation I've heard over a team radio. Bloody hell, very good. You can tell that young man has been integrated well into British society, because otherwise that would have been probably some Australian slang.
Picked up all the lingo, and I think he's going to be not particularly pleased with that after that contact, because it's dropped him 2.5 seconds now off the back of Raz and Alex Gillen, who were just starting to close the gap to Kareem in front. Remember, it was over 3 seconds, now down to 2.4. It's about a tenth a lap faster that chasing group had over Kareem 17. Going to be a little bit less now because there's fewer drivers to work with. And Alex Gillen thinking now's the time to go. He has the DRS lap open. He now has second place in his hands. And with those medium tyres, definitely going to be better than the softs at this stage. He can now begin to charge after the reigning champion as Kai, somewhat unsurprisingly, dives into the pits.
Sadly does, and that is going to be an opportunity opening here for a few of our drivers who'll be able to put on fresh tyres, new mediums for the Haas car. And the question is, where is he going to come out? Probably just ahead, just behind of Fabio. And yes, you do see that on the track map at the bottom of your screens. He'll have that guy Vince for company. Also peels out of the pit lane at a very similar time. Scott Taylor just a few seconds behind those drivers, about 9 to be precise, make that 5 as the timing board does update. Gillen though now on a charge, as I think the mediums have started to become a little bit better than the softs have off this race start. And Scott Taylor picks up the second penalty of the afternoon, 3 seconds for also not abiding by those track limits.
Just looking at the position of Infratic in relation to Formula Kai. Fabio pitted, 3 or 4 laps ago? That should have been a fairly decent undercut, considering as well Kai was spun round by Ben. To only be 2.5 seconds less than that, clear of the Haas driver, that might be a little bit concerning for the pace of Fabio in clean air. Obviously on the hard tyres, they would have had a little bit of warm-up, and he is now catching a big group of cars in the lower reaches of the top 10, but I would have expected maybe a little bit more.
I think there's quite a lot of that when you talk about Fabio and his pace in the Creator Series. Would have expected a little bit more. Seems to be a common occurrence, unfortunately, for himself. I believe he's one of the highest points drivers without a win in the F1 Creator Series, of course. And if you go back and look at the history and the statistics, it's not necessarily in his favour. Safso and Gotts, 2 drivers both peeling into the pit lane, opting off of those softer tyres, and that is a beautiful image as both of them get a very similar synchronised pit stop.
Both of them putting on the white stripe hard compound tyres. Going to be difficult to stretch those to the end of the race, but doing 2 medium stints also might leave you sweating bullets come the end of that stint. There goes Infratic. There goes Formula Kai. Here's Dak Gavins, who pitted on the previous lap. Safso's going to be clear. What about Gwatz in relation to the Aston Martin? They were dueling earlier on in the Grand Prix. Just a slide as Gwatz desperately tries to find some tyre temperature and some grip and some traction. The Aston Martin has just about won out in that battle, but Gwatz is only a 10th behind him.
Certainly is indeed, but we saw how long these tyres can take to get up to temperature. Here in Bahrain, the track temperature is only 26 degrees, air temperature of 22, and I know that sounds like a pretty warm Grand Prix, but when you typically realise most of the track's probably about 30, 35, if not 40 degrees on a most typical F1 Grand Prix, the tyre wear or the tyre temperature will be really difficult to gain here.
100%. Going to have to manage those hard tyres, bring them in, try and get the temperature up. Dak Gavins clearly struggling a little bit now because he was almost perpendicular to the racing surface there. Formula Kai has got past Infratic in front, so that gap that was 2 seconds. Kai is on the medium tyre, so it's going to be a little bit quicker than Fabio at this stage. As Fabio very close to running off the circuit and picking up a track limit penalty. Kai's pace is still incredibly strong. You see Fabio there now struggling with the rear end of that Ferrari car. Like we saw in qualifying, drivers just struggling with the rear grip in particular. Again, Fabio pulled this undercut. He's not really making any progress.
He's certainly not. He'll be looking to try and gain better than what he is at the moment. He should be able to try and dispatch Formula Kai at the moment as we run down towards the first corner, but I don't think he's close enough at the moment. You can see the gap, still about half a second. You don't get that extra bout of straight line speed compared to some circuits here. You get a good bit of straight line speed, but you really need to be within a few tenths as you exit out of that 15th corner.
Well, it wants to be dragged along now by Formula Kai, considering the Haas is on the mediums. The problem is they've got, 6 cars now that are yet to stop, queued up in front of them. They're going to have to try and pick their way through the traffic unless they peel off into the pits at the end of this lap. Slowly the gap is coming down out in front as well. It did just dip below 2 seconds, 1.8 seconds, but Kareem, as we've seen, absolutely mighty in the middle sector, extending it back out over 2 seconds to 2.1, and then Alex Gillen trying to charge in the final sector. Razin, though, doing a very commendable job to cling onto the coattails of Alex Gillen. Considering those soft tyres are way past their best, he's keeping himself very much in the game and giving himself a lot of flexibility strategy-wise. Tim Martin's still very much in this as well, only 2.5 seconds further back after that, coming together between himself and Kai.
Certainly so, and we'll progress through. We're about 1/3 race distance, or at least a couple laps off, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see those drivers that started on the soft. The only 2 that remain out at the moment being Karim and Razin will be heading into the pits in the next few moments for a fresh set of boots to at least see them through that middle stint. I've been speaking to a few people. Wouldn't be surprised if we are going to see a 2, maybe a 3 stop here this afternoon. It's not viable on the 1 stop, at least if you want to try and keep most of your tyres together.
Do you think Ben might try the 1 stop? We've got 17 laps on the mediums. If he can maybe extend them, obviously we don't know what his tyre wear is at. If he can get to maybe 24, lap 24, and then try and go hard to the end, is that potentially a viable strategy as Gwatz gets ahead of Vince?
Certainly could be. I think it's all kind of up in the air at the moment. Where do you stand? Where do you take those risks, those gambles? Because at the moment, you don't really know how you're going to try and work your way through, because some may be banging on for a safety car, they may be waiting for it, but at the moment, it could be an interesting one to see where that strategy lies.
What are your thoughts, chat? Have you heard anything that we've maybe missed? Are there drivers that started on the mediums that are thinking about trying to extend this and go for the 1 stop? Alex Gillen, Tim Martin, you would imagine the drivers that started on the soft are going to have to do 2 stop, 40 laps if they hit now onto a set of hards to try and take you to the end of the Grand Prix. I think that's going to be a fairly tall order. The gap continuing to come down out in front. Kareem's probably going to pull into the pits the split second Alex Gillen gets into his DRS range, to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the moment that you decide those tyres are well and truly past their use by date. You peel into the pits, you avoid giving Alex Gillen that extra bit of slipstream, as we do see yellow flags in the 3rd sector. I think Liam Hammond might have gone for a bit of a spin just at the top of the hill, and we do see, the car is going again, so nothing majorly to worry about. Kai being pressured here, Boyd Naguera, as we head down towards the first corner once again. A little bit of a move to avoid as much of that slipstream as possible, but again, could be that sitting duck as it stands. Hazard's Racing coming in the chat does come in saying they think the 1 stop could be possible here.
Brutti, they're saying that Fabio not particularly liking the hard compound tyres. And we saw the pace advantage that Kai had over Infratic, comparing brand new mediums to brand new hards. We saw the struggles GB had on the hard tyres as well. So if you are trying a 1 stop strategy And if these hard tyres are really, really poor, maybe that's not the way to go. Alex Gillen has now caught Kareem 70. He's saying, I'm sure there'll be a safety car at some point. It's almost to Tim McMahon's benefit, actually, if Kareem stays out a little bit longer, because Ben is obviously quicker than the Red Bull at this stage. If he can just keep Alex Gillen and Razin Chai just in the same ballpark as they are at the minute, try and just get that extra second to get within 1 second of Razin in front. That brings Ben very much back into this as well.
Yeah, the defending from Karim could really pay dividends to Ben further back. The question is Karim going to jeopardise essentially his own race strategy now? Does he help Gillen? Does he help Ben? That's kind of the two sentiments in which you find yourself. Let's watch and look and see what happens. Karim dives into the pits at the very last moment of asking. Gillen is released as your race leader now on lap 19 of 57.
So should be a two-stop from here for Karim, unless there is a safety car that might change things later on in the Grand Prix. Doesn't necessarily help Tim McMahon, because we were saying he is now going to have to, on his own, try and catch that 2 second gap to Alex Gillen and Razin Chai. Gives Alex as well an opportunity to try and scamper off and drop Razin Chai, maybe force the Alpine driver's hand to trying to pit in the next couple of laps. White stripe hard compact tyres strapped on to the Red Bull Racing car. He'll be desperate to try and come out ahead of Riccio 3. We have potentially caught Kareem red-handed there as he ducks back onto the circuit, not taking too much notice of the white line at pit exit.
Yeah, we had something similar, I think, a few rounds ago. We saw Razin Chai do. Yes, it was Spain. I think season opener. Yeah, more yellow flags. That's going to be a Sauber that's got off. Is that Nogueira that's had issues at the Texas turn?
Yes.
One it will be, as he's completely round. What has happened to Nogueira? Very uncharacteristic mistake for the kick Sauber here.
Yeah, he's obviously dropped it potentially coming out of turn number 3. It is a pretty tricky traction zone as you go over the curb of 2 and then through 3. If you're maybe struggling with your rear tyres, the temperature is a bit high, it's quite easy to do, and Nogueira seemingly has just fallen foul of that slightly difficult track conditions. Noble almost clatters into the rear of the Sauber, and I wonder if Nogueira is just going to slowly wheel this Sauber back to the pits and retire at the end of the lap.
Has he got a puncture?
Well, he might do. He was going very slowly. He's off again.
I don't
Rear
know what's
puncture,
going on.
maybe?
Maybe. The car doesn't look like it's crabbing too badly, but he doesn't seem to be able to control it. I'm really, if someone could go have a look, this would be interesting. Got a 3 second penalty for jumping across the corner there. We see sparks flying. Doesn't look like any major wheel damage, or at least a puncture for the kick Sauber. So I do wonder what has happened. We have got Alex Hill and Razin Chai, both of them into the pits. Timo Mardik stays out at the moment. That's going to allow Fabio, also known as Infratic, to try and catch back up to the front pack as we do see them peel out of the pits. Karim gets past, and the undercut has worked.
And Kai is just there, ducking ahead of Razin Chai, who almost fell behind the Williams of Riccio 3. But this pit stop window has brought everybody back together. We can have a lovely little party in the second stint of this Grand Prix. Gillen desperately trying to get some tyre temperature into those, I believe, hard compound tyres. Yes, white stripe hard compound tyres on the Papaya McLaren car. Kareem also on the hard tyres. Razin goes for the mediums. He's definitely locking himself in to the two-stop strategy. Tim Martin continues on. This is what I was saying, Ben. He's tried the one-stop a couple of times so far this season, but has been caught up in a few incidents, or there have been some safety cars that have stopped him from executing it as he would have liked. He's now in the lead of the race. He's got absolutely nobody within the next 40 seconds on track, excluding the kick Sauber of Nogueira, who's just peeled into the pits. This is an opportunity for Ben to try and roll the strategy dice as Nogueira does indeed retire.
Yeah, it's still a strange one. I'm sure we'll get a replay later of what exactly happened to that kick Sauber. But as you see now, Ben has that commanding opportunity to try and go. Can he extend those medium tyres as much as he possibly can? Clean air is going to be the name of the game. You can see the track map at the bottom of your screens, just how much free air he exactly has. I think right about now, he'll definitely be hoping, begging, praying for Bert Mylander to make an appearance, because that slowdown will just be enough for him to keep hold of the race lead, no matter that Karim is still continuing to pull closer in.
Alex Gillen struggling. He's lost DRS to Kareem, and Formula Kai is going to say thank you very much. The easiest pass of Kai's career as he moves up into third place. Next second, of course, with Ben staying out there. He's on those medium tyres that have done 7 laps, let's not forget. So they're going to be starting to just feel maybe a little bit second-hand. Should be able to take them another 10 laps or so. But Formula Kai trying to make hay while the sun shines at this stage of the Grand Prix. Scotty Designs, by the way, I think has just been overtaken by Scott Taylor into the penultimate corner. Or he might be just about to snatch 17th off the hands of the one remaining kick Sauber with the DRS. Maybe a little bit of battery and some slipstream. Does well for the Haas of Scotty Designs.
Certainly does. That's a different set of tyres. 9 laps versus 20 laps, and Scott Taylor really trying to make that first set of hard tyres work. He's one of the only drivers that's taken them pretty much from this race start. I think the only other driver to start on the hards was GB, and of course he had that little bit of an incident where he lost some front wing about 9 laps in, and has since been on set of the medium tyres. So Scott Taylor, one of four drivers yet to make a pit stop here this afternoon. Ben, Riccio 3 and Hayden Gullis join himself as well as Liam Hammond to be the no pit club so far.
Do we know, chat, everybody that's watching, do we know if Alex Gillen is trying the one-stop? Had the rare pleasure of being outscored by Adam Sanderson last week, Team Mark. That is not ideal at all. His backup is his former teammate Saf, so he's doing a decent job in position number 9, albeit behind Hayden Gullis, which isn't exactly the place you want to be in. Formula Kai with the fastest lap of the race. He is still absolutely flying on those medium tyres. They're going to take second place off the hands of Kareem 70. Alex Gillen, you can see they're weaving, still struggling for front tyre temperature. That'll be music to the ears of Razin Chai, who is on the mediums with an absolutely beautiful at this stage of the Grand Prix. He's going to try and take second place back, and just behind him, Alex Gillen could be a bit of a sitting duck. Will he want to fight this? Razin Chai shows the nose up the inside. Alex Gillen turns in, does leave a lot of space for the Alpine. Maybe he's just trying to say, go on, get on with it. You're on the better tyres. I don't want to hold you up because it will benefit my race as well. Kareem is back through and Razin is through as well. But just going back to Alex Gillen, is he trying the one-stop? Because for my money, I reckon Ben only has to go maybe another 3 or 4 laps before he can strap on the hards and maybe go to the end.
That could be the question. I think that seriously could be the strategy that he's running, but it's worth noting in mind at the moment, last lap, Formula Kai was 2 seconds quicker than Ben over the course of that lap. And we've got a replay here of Formula Kai's contact slightly earlier on, and we got it. Oh, sorry, Kareem.
That's Kareem Airlines, I believe.
We don't have a replay of Formula Kai's incident. We do have Formula Kareem on the screen very briefly, but we do watch on board with the other Red Bull as they stand on our screens. Gwatz has the pleasure of your eyes' attention as he's trying to chase down Safso, who's now in P8 after making a successful overtake. And now we're being told we are going to throw it over to Formula Kai's replay, and we can watch on board here and see quite what happened when Timo Mardik went very late on the brakes.
We're going to see down to the brakes, so Kai doesn't brake particularly early, he just gets a whack from behind and almost collects the McLaren on the way through as well. A reaction from Kai, that's a rarity as well, a trader's item for us to pick up. We have lost the screen again, but yeah, Formula Kai, not ideal, but he's got himself back into contention with that 7-lap undercut I think he picked up on the mediums.
I think that certainly looks to be the way that he's tried to pull it through. He's managed to hold off at the moment. Chai's on 3 laps compared to Kai's 9, as we do see Razin Chai getting past Karim now as we make our way through. It's Razin Chai up to P2 on the circuit. Karim sits in 3rd. Formula Kai in 4th. And it could be all change in the next few moments as everybody else tries to figure their way out. Being told in the Twitch chat that Kai's tyres are starting to go off here. They're only 9 laps old, are the mediums, but already starting to struggle is Formula Kai.
100%. And Razin's looking really strong at this stage as well. On those medium tyres, he managed to take the soft tyres as far as Alex Gillen took the mediums in the first stint. That potentially says something as well. He's now on the mediums, which definitely look a bit better than the hards. And he's tracking very, very nicely. But Ben, he's still got 14.5 seconds to that group behind. Ben's looking really good as well. We haven't seen prime Timo Mardik so far this season. A combination of just struggling for a little bit of pace, and he's been caught up in a few incidents from time to time. Formula Kai definitely struggling on those mediums, by the way, now. As Ben does peel off into the pits, he is going to get rid of those medium tyres and jump onto the hards, you would imagine, to take him to the end.
Yeah, that would be my assumption at the moment as well. It's Mercedes in towards the pit lane. Razin Chai will have an opportunity now to try and charge down, and does get that move done, I think, well and truly. Nice and easy for Karim now to take the lead. DRS using the effect. And it will be Razin Chai who sits in 2nd place. Kai and Gillen still on the battle. The 4-way fight for the front at the moment is certainly looking like an impressive one. Ben loses out to even Fabio as well, who sits in P5 now. And it's fresh soft tyres for Timo Mardik, looking to go on an aggressive run on this second stint, so almost guaranteeing a double stop, or at least a 2-stopper here for the Australian.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to the end now, but he is 9 seconds off the back of the leading group.
That is indeed. We still keep an eye on this front pack, and it is Infratic that will be the next closest challenger. It's Timo Mardik, who's just about half a second off the back of the Ferrari at the moment. We do see
as they did in Miami a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely, and apologies there, folks, for the brief technical issues on our end. Discord decided it was going to have one of its days
Yes, we're back.
Where it no longer wanted to work, and we have finally got our broadcast point of view back. I think myself, Tom, and Carl were all watching from the Twitch stream there for a solid couple of minutes as we made our way through. But hey, the things we do to bring you the entertainment we all love on a Saturday night.
I was watching the telemetry. I was watching names flick around all over the place. I was going, yes, I don't know what's going on, but we can see places are changing. We're back live, though. 25 laps gone. It's Razin, who's actually trying to bolt away, potentially. 8 tenths per second he's got over Kareem 17. 7 tenths back to Gillen. Further 7 tenths back to Formula Kai. Tim Marnik, though, is absolutely flying. On the previous lap, he took a second out of that leading group of 4 cars. Flying on this lap as well.
Certainly is indeed, and it's going to be an interesting one. Being told by our presenter, Carl, in the background, that Alex cannot get his front right warmed up at all, and that could be issues for the McLaren car as he stands in P3. Karim just in front with Razin Chai on the race leads. We're not even halfway through this race yet, and the majority of the cars have already done at least one stop. I just see two drivers that have yet to make a pit stop, as we do see Ricky 03 finally opting off a set of the mediums onto a set of the hards after 24 laps. It's Scott Taylor and Hayden Gullis that refuse to pit here in Bahrain.
Yeah, they're definitely going for the one-stop strategy. Hayden's in a good spot. He can probably pit for the hards fairly surely. Interested that Ben didn't go for the one-stop in the position he was in. Hayden Gullis does now peel off into the pits. We're looking at this second battle. Fabio finds himself in quite a lot of no man's land. 3 seconds to Ben in front, 3 seconds to Safso Gwatz, and the 2 Aston Martins behind, with Meraki also very, very lonely out there. 7 seconds to the group in front and a little bit more to the group behind. You can see on the mini-map there, Meraki is so far away from everybody else. He's not going to be enjoying that one job. We want to be in the thick of the action, but just didn't have the pace in qualifying, then got caught up in that little bit of contact between himself and GB. Alex Giddy, you can see there, big snap of oversteer coming through turn 10. He's clearly still struggling with those tyre temperatures as well.
Unexpectedly, with the track temperature, we've actually dropped down a degree. 22 air temperature, 26 on the track, so it is getting colder here as the night continues to beckon in Bahrain. We see Liam Hammond just holding off Hayden Gullis down in 17th place after he does enter in towards the pits after 25 laps, and that leaves Scott Taylor as the only driver yet to make a pit stop. He's all the way down in P18, and we'll be looking for slightly a better outcome here. But talking back to Timo Marnik, who's gone on to a set of the softs in this second stint after 23 laps on a set of the mediums, are we my running theory here, and correct me if you think something different, we do see Karim get past Razin Chai. Ben's going to try and catch up to this front 4 and then essentially force them to use their tyres up.
I think what it tells us is that Ben is quietly confident about his pace here. He's going to chase them down and then give himself an opportunity later on in the race to put himself pretty much in the same race as those drivers around him. Whether they're going for a one-stop or a two-stop, it waits to be seen. Formakai definitely will be two-stopping. He's also low on fuel, so if he can get himself in that DRS train, that'll allow him to try and save a little bit of fuel. 15 wins, 49 podiums, just the one podium this season, the best of second so far. He'll be looking to try and bring up that half century in about 30 laps time on his 103rd Grand Prix start in the Create Series. But yeah, Ben, I'm looking fairly confidently at Ben, thinking he's very much going to be in the thick of the action come lap 55, 67.
Absolutely. And if my maths is correct here, that's about a 49% podium rate for Timo Marnik here over the course of his many seasons in the F1 Create Series, and that is probably one of the best records that he has at the moment. Being told that he is quick, but he's sliding a lot in the rear, and that is Timo Marnik, who is struggling already on a set of softs, only 3 laps in, but maybe that's him just putting a little bit too much pressure on the rear tyres, wanting to try and push through quicker than the rest and catch up to that front four? That question remains unanswered at the moment until we do see that front four pack become a five pack as Scott Taylor having some more technical gremlins from the land of Scotland, and that does force him down to 19th place, and essentially the AI now taking over control.
And that will probably drag him into the pits because the game will realise, Scott, your tyres are about 80%. Get them off the car. Get on some brand new rubber, my friend. But yes, Scott not had the best of races. Not a good day for Kick Sauber, is it? 19th and 20th and retired. Formula Kai just dipped outside of a second behind Alex Gill as well. So he's definitely struggling on those mediums that have done 14 laps so far. Ben, the gap to Kai is 3.4 seconds. He's absolutely flying at the moment. I think he's on maximum attack.
Maximum attack is definitely the name of the game at the moment, and just some clarification for what Ben's fuel is on. When someone comes in the chat and says, oh, Ben's low on fuel, I'm like, okay, a lap, maybe 2 laps down on fuel. He's 0.3 down on fuel. So it's definitely a manageable margin for the Australian at the moment. He certainly has to maybe do some lifting and coasting in the latter stages of this race if he continues to push as heavy as he wants to at the moment. But for someone that's so experienced in the world of the F1 game, and especially EA Sports F1 title, he knows what he's doing. He's going to be able to recover that probably and more in just 1 lap.
The trade-off is, though, he can see the quartet in front getting closer and closer and closer every corner of every single lap. Alex Gillen's very close to the back of Razin Chai. Maybe his medium tyres are just starting to beg for a little bit of mercy. Quarter of a second. Very satisfying to see this pace. Ben's pumped up. The former 2-time champion is back, everybody.
Yeah, we haven't seen Ben like this for, well, a number of races, quite often taking some time to adapt here at F1 25, whether that is feeling that he had his championship robbed at the end of last season, but came back with, I don't want to say a vengeance, but it was certainly not the Timo Mardik we're used to seeing here in the F1 Creator Series, but it does look like the Australian has recently got fired up. We heard over the week and the last few weeks that he's seen his dad. I think his dad's come over from Australia, spent some time with him at the British Grand Prix. You've seen the photos over on Instagram, so it must be nice to be able to see your family and come back fighting like we're seeing this afternoon.
This will be a big confidence boost. He's not going to win this championship. Let's just set that one straight. But if he can try and keep up the record, he has won in every single season of the Creator Series. Let's not forget that, Tim Marlick. I think he's potentially the only driver, other than maybe Alex Gillen, to have done that. So he'll want to keep that record going. Alex Gillen's already won 3 times this season, and Ben will want to make it 10 seasons in the F1 Creator Series, winning in all 10 of them.
Certainly will do indeed, and I think we are going to head over in the next few moments just to have a bit of a Carl recap, what he's seen behind the scenes from all angles as he does pop into everybody's stream. So I'm sure when he is ready and waiting, we'll get that little notification that we're going to throw it over to him. But for the time being, we have got that front quartet being chased down by the Australian as it stands. Carl's ready, we're told, so we're going to throw it over to him. Carl, what do you got?
Thanks, Tom and Tom. Lap number 30 of the Bahrain Grand Prix. For those of you that might have joined recently, welcome to the Creator Series, powered by EA Sports, and welcome to what has been a very interesting Bahrain set of affairs. Kareem, your current leader, from pole position, had a rocket start, as did the man in P2, Razin Chai. But that's only part of the tale. Formula Kai caught napping, and everybody else, particularly those on the hard compounds, struggling immensely. It has been a slug out for anyone on those hard tyres, and so it continues, particularly at this stanza. Kareem, as Razin goes wide, possibly gets a warning next to his account. Kareem and Alex struggling to get temperature into their tyres, particularly on that front right tyre. It's so difficult when the left-hand side of the car is so loaded for so much of the lap, and they're experiencing all of the conundrums on that side. There might have been those, but there's also been chaos. There's been moments of contact and controversy as you see Ben just mosey his way into the background. Yes, he's on the 2-stop strategy, going for those 2 softer compounds, and he is absolutely flying. But the question of whether he can overthrow this train remains to be seen. First adversary is Formula Kai. Of course, he and the flying Mercedes man made contact earlier on. So run it back, round 2 on that particular account. Everywhere else, though, it's been a little bit of a slug out for a lot of drivers. GB started the race on the harder compound tyres, fell like a brick at the start, and then contact with Meraki gave him front wing damage. Even to that, Meraki getting caught up embroiled in all of the danger. Well, it's all been happening at this Bahrain Grand Prix. Calm down a little bit, hence why you're hearing my sultry tones through each and every one of your ears and screens. Razin in hot pursuit, a lot of these drivers not really going for moves, but Ben edging closer and closer to striking distance. That's all really there is to know. There's been chaos, there's been conundrums. For some drivers, it's been more embarrassing than a Coldplay Jumbotron. Whatever the case, it's contrasting fortunes left, right, and centre. Lap number 31, as there's an Aston Martin making a move. Let me hand you over to our commentary navigation. It's Tom and Tom.
Well, thank you, Carl, and once again giving us the giggles up here in the commentary boxes. That guy Vincent Quartz, you can see having to scrap Safso and GB, those side by side further forwards. It's both Aston Martins on attack and defence simultaneously here in Sakir, and they're both acting out fairly solid efforts. It's GB in 7th, that guy Vince in 9th, and this, well, we've seen it before. When both Aston Martins can come together, they are often a rather unstoppable force here, Tom.
Have made contact a couple of times, though. If we remember a few weeks ago, I think it was Silverstone in reverse. They were battling in the early stages. Vince got a bit of a tap from his teammate from behind, and that threw him off into the barriers at turn number 1 and ended his race very, very shortly. Tim Marduk, though, is in the game. He's caught the 1 second to Formula Car in front. He's actually just dropped out of 1 second to Alex Gillen in front of him. Ben will be hoping and praying that Kai can just stick in this battle. It's very close in front of them. Razachai almost taking the lead down into turn 1. Kai has definitely lost the DRS, so Ben's now thinking, great, I've just caught up to this pack and your tyres have just gone. I'm going to have to overtake you and use even more of my soft compound tyres. Not good news at all, but it does look like it's going to be a 5-car scrap under a sky full of stars here in Bahrain.
Certainly does indeed. It's going to be Tim Marduk now trying to chase down Formula Kai, who keeps losing time. Hand over fist to Alex Gillen and Razin Chai. This is not the way that they'd like to see this go out at the moment. They quite often say every teardrop is a waterfall, and at the moment, Formula Kai is falling faster than a waterfall here in Bahrain. We continue to push through. Safso in 7th place, and this could be an almighty run for the Mercedes driver.
100%. 2.5 seconds off the back of Fabio, who, to be honest, has looked pretty lost on those hard compound tyres. 14 seconds off the back of the leading quintet. Formula Kai really, really struggling just to stay within the 1 second window. He's got it back down to 0.8 of a second, but he's now got the former 2-time champion and a driver that they made contact with, let's not forget, in the early stages of this Grand Prix, now bearing down on him very, very full on in the rear view mirrors. Ben has almost been the scientist so far on those soft compound tyres. He's got the strategy absolutely perfectly because he's got himself right back in the thick of this race as Kai pits very late.
That he does indeed. It's going to be the Haskell into the pit, releases Tim Marduk up towards the front 4, and this is what Ben's hoping for. Something like this to present itself in the latter stages of the Grand Prix. He'll have Alex Gillen in his sights. 1.3 seconds of time deficit up towards the Papaya McLaren, and he is going to be going at the speed of sound.
100%. Got to make sure that he does get into the 1 second window, though. Those soft tyres will be past their best at this stage, considering he's been flat out 110% on those tyres for the past 10 laps or so. Still Kareem Razin and Alex Gillen, very staccato out in front. They've held that formation for the last 5 or 6 laps. Formula Kai feeds out in a little bit of clear air. 3 seconds off the back of Vince. The problem is you've got Infratic, then 2 seconds back to Safso, GB, Gwatz and Datka Vince. Formula Kai, as he did in the first stint when he came out, is going to have to pick his way through quite a lot of traffic. Meraki also into the pits for his second stop of the race.
It is indeed. We see Tuki here, 17 seconds off the back of Formula Kai, but we have got Lolly Noba trying to chase down the Alpine at 33 of 57. We've got just over 25 or so laps to go in this Grand Prix. Not far off from when we do see those intentional safety cars being banned here in the F1 Creator Series. Ben's within DRS range here. You see the sparks fly behind them as the plank continues to wear down. Is this the time for Tim Marduk?
The plank may be wearing down, but the plot certainly thickening at this stage. 4 drivers separated by less than 2 seconds out in front, all on completely different tyre strategies. Not one single one of these drivers in the leading group of 4, and if you include Formula Kai as well, the leading 5 drivers going for this race win are on the same strategy. They've all used different tyres at various stages of this Grand Prix. I think that is a big, big plus, a big, big commendment to the way that F1 25 has worked.
Absolutely. It's been a fantastic battle so far. We see GB in towards the pits. Of course, he went slightly early on. A set of hards onto the mediums now for 24 laps. He had a front wing replaced last time. I think no front wing replacement needed this time, and it is hard, surely, to see him out until the end of this Grand Prix. No trouble looming for that Aston Martin. He will rejoin pretty much in the same position that he once pit from. We see Razin Chai now on the back of Karim 70. Alex Gillen in third still, and Timo Mardik holding firm in fourth. And it is going to be an interesting race to see how this front four develop. Who's going to have the better tyres? It's hard for Karim and Alex Gillen. Softs for Timo Mardik, who'll be begging for a safety car. And Razin Chai, well, all he can see is yellow.
I think they'll be looking at the track map with eagle eyes, to be honest. Formula Kai is the driver they'll be watching. They'll be waiting, praying to see when Kai, if Kai, catches up to the back of that group of cars. You can see them there. Fabio, Safso, Gwatz, Vince. Kai's going to have to pick his way through the traffic. The potential strategy here for this leading group of four, stay out whilst Kai is losing time through the traffic, then pit afterwards. And the bearing, or the benefit of that as well, is you get a massive tyre offset also when Kai isn't really making too much progress.
Yeah, he's come over the team radio saying, okay, I can push now. And this is going to be the interesting factor. Where he stands at the moment is 9th place. He'll be hoping and praying that all he goes from here is up and up towards the top of the leaderboard. But the question still stands, are we going to see a safety car this afternoon? Timo Mardik will be begging for one on this strategy at the moment. The Badger strategy, as it's been dubbed in the Twitch chat, meaning going aggressive on the softs. I wonder how many people will be hoping and praying maybe for Plan C.
I'm pretty confident we won't see a safety car. I'd also say I don't want to see a safety car just because we're in such a good race strategy-wise. Meraki, we haven't spoken too much about, the Season 4 champion, sets the fastest lap of the race, albeit he is down in position number 14. So yeah, hoping we don't see a safety car. I'm praying to a higher power that we don't see Bert Mylander come onto the circuit very shortly.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens at the moment. It's Karim that still leads, and the question will be, do those hard tyres hold at the moment? I believe from memory it is lap 42 that the intentional safety cars are banned from, and the question will be, who's going to forget that exists? Because I don't think the creators have been reminded of that this week, at least the explicit lap.
No. And if we do see that, it could be trouble, because for some of these drivers, they've set themselves up for a strategy that doesn't play with the safety cars. Somebody like Formula Kai, if the safety car comes out now, he's going to be, well, not very happy at all, and he'll be wanting somebody to try and fix him because he's going to have to strap on a new set of boots, and he's lost all of this track position also.
He certainly is. But the question is around strategy and everything else. Obviously, we've seen Ben on those soft tyres. He'll be sat in that cockpit, well, don't panic. I know what I'm doing. He's an experienced veteran. He knows how to race. So I say that as he leaves the session.
Well, that's not good news at all. Certainly isn't paradise for Ben at this stage. He just caught up to the back of them. His stream's died as well, so I think the whole thing has gone down for Timo Mardik, and that is a sucker punch for somebody that was, I would say, maybe the favourite in this race. His pace was so strong. He's got to get back in as quick as possible because the AI is very, very slow. If he does get back in, he's going to have to hope and pray that he can drive at the speed of sound to try and get himself back into contention. Yeah,
he's got the AI, and he'll be saying to himself, the AI is driving in my place, and he'll be at least somewhat thankful about that. DNFs or intentional DNFs disallowed after lap 42. Confirmation comes across from a race control, so we are only a few laps out from that, about 6 if my maths is somewhat decent here. Certainly it won't be much longer. Lap 36 to 57 here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Gwatz on the back of that guy, Vince, is still going the way of Red Bull Racing.
I wonder if the AI might pit Ben slightly earlier than he's hoping. I'm hoping he doesn't come into the pits. The Mercedes does stay out. I was slightly worried because he's done 12 laps on those soft tyres. The AI, as we saw with Scott Taylor earlier, might say, come into the pits, sir. I'm going to fit you up with a new set of tyres. And that is exactly what you want, even though it's the exact opposite of what he wants to see happen. Gwatz has been fighting very hard. He's been embroiled with the likes of Safso. Formula Kai's just come through in the last couple of laps. Vince, I was going to say battling hard with Vince. Vince spills off into the pits to get shot of his hard tyres that he's had strapped on for 22 laps of this Bahrain Grand Prix. GB has also made his second pit stop. The two Aston Martins not in a particularly great position. The Constructors' Championship charge just stalling a little bit here as Ben gets back into the session, but he's now 3 seconds off the leading trio. And he is probably now going to be praying for a safety car when maybe beforehand he wasn't necessarily doing the safety car dance. If he is going to have to try and get back up to the lead, he's going to have the adventure of a lifetime to get back into contention. Lolinoba late on the brakes down the inside of Tuki. We haven't seen too much scrapping going on in the lower reaches of the top 10 in recent laps or recent minutes. Tuki has his place absolutely thrown to the gauntlet as Lolinoba flies past. And Meraki now trying to smell an opportunity around the outside, but the Alpine is not done. He launches it up the inside. Bit of contact. You can see the carbon fibre confetti thrown up. Meraki says, thank you very much. I'll double up and get up into the top 10. You can trip over yourselves. I'll just fly on past, lads.
Absolutely fantastic. Meraki knows everything's not lost at the moment. He'll stand in P10 with a few drivers around him, hoping and wanting to go to the end as well. We saw team radio from Karim saying that he thinks he can easily get to the end here this afternoon, and I think he is rather easy to please in this Grand Prix at the moment. He's just got to continue doing his job until the end of the Grand Prix. He stands in first. He doesn't look like he's under much pressure from Razin Chai and or Alex Gillen, and Timo Mardik well and truly out of the picture as he falls 4 seconds down from the leaders of this pack, and it's not going to be the way that he likes to finish it out.
You almost think that Ben's going to have to try something different now, because those soft tyres probably don't have the pace to re-catch up to that group in front. Only 4 and 5 lap tyre offset he's got over Karim Razin and Alex Gillen. The hard tyres will definitely be quicker at this stage of the Grand Prix. Does he go for an undercut then? Or would that risk putting him into a load of traffic? You can see Formula Kai still bogged down, batting away with Safso, with Infratic. He's just recently got past Gwatz TV and Dat Gavins as well. He probably just wants to wait until he knows he can clear his teammate and then try and get himself back into this race with a bit of an undercut. Or he might do what he did in the first stint as well, go for an overcut. That might be difficult on those tyres as Safso gets a little bit wobbly down into the braking zone, and Formula Kai is all over the rear of that silver arrow. But yeah, Ben, a lot of options with his strategy now that he's been kicked out of contention a little bit in the recent few laps with that disconnection.
Certainly is, and we'll see how it goes. Stats at the bottom for Formula Kai: 0 wins, 3 podiums from 20 starts. And 1 DNF, which makes him at about a 5% chance of DNFing. Cuts across the AI of Safso. Sorry, not the AI of Safso, it was the car of Safso. I got my Mercedes mixed up here this afternoon. That's not what you like to see, as I was looking at my other screen for about half a second. But it is Safso that he does get past. He now can go on the charge for Timo Mardik, who is the other Mercedes just up ahead of him, and he'll be looking to try and pull back as much time as he can within the next few laps.
4.2 seconds the gap between Gillen and Ben, who does stay out on this occasion. Does anybody peel off into the pits there? No. Safso and Infratic are going to continue on their way. Still staccato, as we said 5 laps ago. The next 5 laps, we haven't seen too much changing out in front with Karim Razin and Alex Gillen happy just to sit in this formation, and Timo Mardik's fallen a further half a second off the back of them. He does still seem to have pretty decent pace in the middle sector though, Ben, which does tell us that those soft tyres still have a little bit of life left in them. He's going to have to work them very, very hard there in his next 3, 4, maybe even 5 laps, dependent, of course, on when these drivers come into the pits. And also, you could say, with the pace that Ben's shown, has he maybe lay his cars on the table slightly early? Could Karim Razin and Alex Gillen, if they've got a set of soft compound tyres, strap them on at the end of the race and be the favourites for the Grand Prix?
Well, that's the question that we are all asking. Of course, we are hoping, again, waiting for something to happen. I think that's probably the best way of doing it. Our stream from the commentator's point of view, and once again, has got our see you soon as it does pause and minimise, and we are ready to go. Well, we can hear, I think Discord might have been discording for a couple of moments. So just bear with us, folks, for a couple of moments. We are going to have to refresh Discord on the back. Don't worry, the picture won't go anywhere. Weeds might be silent for a couple of moments. Well, I think we're back, folks. Hopefully you can all hear us back at home. We're on lap 40 of 57 as we make our way through towards the end of this Grand Prix. 18, make it 17 and a half laps to go. We see Kai setting 31.8s on new hard tyres. Karim setting 32.3s, about half a second between the two drivers. Super Noodle Bagel, slightly earlier on, picked up a 3-second penalty for track limit violations, and that joins a considerable number of other drivers who have also picked up penalties in the continuation of this Grand Prix. We see Gwatz now also being another driver to pick up a penalty, up in 8th place, and that is going to be disaster for the second Red Bull.
Just on that pace of Formula Kai there, so he's about half a second a lap quicker than the 4 drivers in front of him. That's not a lot, considering he's got, 13 lap newer tyres than that group of 4 in front. I would be expecting, similar to what we saw from Infratic, maybe a little bit more pace from that Haas driver.
Well, speaking of Infratic, over the team radio, he's currently saying, oh my god, Safso. So I wonder if the two maybe have locked horns ever so slightly. Ben's in the pits, and I'm not sure if that's his AI now as he makes his way in. It's 17 laps on a set of the softer tyres. We haven't quite been able to figure out if Ben is back in the session yet. So whether this is his AI or whether this is actually a decision made by Team Amardic, we wait and see.
I think he is back in the session, and he's put on soft tyres again, and that shows the importance of saving tyres during qualifying. He saved 2 brand new sets of the soft compound tyres. He only did 1 run in qualifying. This is where he is now going to use them.
Absolutely, and confirmation from the Twitch chat. I appreciate that, folks, who have let us know that Ben's back in, as does Carl, who's behind us. Now all eyes will be looking up towards the clocks as they do count down those milliseconds per second between all of our drivers towards the end.
So Ben's 6.5 seconds off the back of Formula Kai. We saw how quickly he managed to reel in the drivers in front with that tyre offset. Now it's going to be slightly different though. He's now going to be on the older tyres compared to Kareem, Razin and Alex Gillen. We don't know which of those 3 drivers have a second brand new set of the soft compound tyres. I don't think Alex Gillen does. I think Razin and Kareem potentially have 1 new set of the soft tyres still available. If anybody can confirm that one, that would be absolutely ideal. Also being told that Ben did box opposite to the leaders there, so he's got his 100 IQ 100, 1000 IQ strats trying to come to fruition. He's already taken a second out of car in this lap as well. So Ben flying on the brand new softs. Alex Gillen close to the back of Razin as well.
Absolutely, front 3 now can try and peel away. The split strategy between them, just a reminder that Razin is on a set of the mediums. Karim and Alex Gillen continue forwards on a set of the hards. It's going to be a question of longevity here for Razin as to whether he can hold out on a set of the mediums, go all the way to the end, or whether he's going to have to pit. I think Gillen and Karim should be fine to make it towards the end. They are in a trouble-free zone, but Chai could be in trouble here.
I think Ben's going to be back with them. If they pit this lap, Ben was 2 seconds faster than that leading trio in the middle sector alone. He had a little bit of traffic in the final sector, so he pretty much matched Kareem, Razin and Alex Gillen. Similar pace to Kai in front of him as well. These guys have just got to be careful, be aware of the pace that the former 2-time champion currently has. He is driving the wheels off that Mercedes at the moment. If they pit this lap, Ben is going to be right with them, considering when he stopped, he was 5 seconds further back.
He absolutely was. He can try and pull forward. We have to keep an eye, though, on last laps. Of course, Ben, we wait for him to complete 1 full lap, essentially, that will give us a valid representation of how quick he is on those new softs. We see Kai in front of him, 9-lap-old hards to the way of the Haas driver, and the inroads that Ben is making are just incredible.
So what do you do now? I think we are seeing them come up to the pit lane now. Razin peels off into the pits. He does different to Kareem and Alex Gillen, who stay out. They're trying to go longer. They're trying to give themselves the tyre offset that Ben had in the middle stint of this Grand Prix. And now this is going to be key. Where does Razin get spat out of the pit lane in relation to the Season 6 and Season 8 Creator Series champion?
Yeah, Razin's plan, Razin's strategy has gone up in flames there after no safety car has been brought out. Ben goes for the fastest lap, a 1:29.2 for the Australian, comes out ahead of Razin Chai in towards turn 1. He's on the softer tyre, he's got 2 laps older, but he will be able to take these till the end now. He's lapping 2.5 seconds quicker than Formula Kai. He's lapping nearly 3 seconds quicker than Gillen and Karim 70. This is going to be a photo finish.
That's the undercut for you, everybody. Took 5 seconds out of the 3 drivers. 5 seconds on those 2 laps, considering he had traffic on his out lap as well. That is incredibly impressive. Razin's going to be very speedy here, though, as Gwatz picks up a second penalty for corner cutting. That's going to relegate him at least 1 place with GB inside 6 seconds of the Red Bull Racing car in 7th place. Ben almost, what does he do now? How does he play this with Razin, who is going to have very similar pace on those brand new soft tyres as well?
That's the question. Is he going to try and work together with Razin? Being told he's 0.5 down on fuel as well, and if he wants to try and continue to push here, he knows there's no hope, no chance of a safety car as we make our way through, but if he wants to try and run away, he knows he's got the speed to be able to do so. Alex Gillen in towards the pits then, can't go until the end on a set of hard tyres. Karim, I think, still believes that he can.
Soft tyres strapped on the Papaya McLaren car. Karim will surely be coming in on the next lap. Ben flies out of the final corner. 3 seconds in front of him is the Hassel Formula Kai, who is the net race leader. Kai has passed Alex Gillen. Where is the Papaya McLaren? Through goes the Mercedes. Through goes the Alpine as well. Alex Gillen has got some work to do. He's going to be about 2.5 seconds potentially off the back of that duo. Less than that.
Yeah, it's going to be a close between the three of them now. They've got to work together. Karim is sat in first going, I ran away, and he's got to keep running in the last 13 laps of this Grand Prix if he has any hope, any chance of winning this Grand Prix here this afternoon. It's going to be high speed until the end.
And this is what's going to be fascinating as well. When Karim comes into the pit, you're going to have Kai in the lead, Ben catching Kai, Razin catching Ben, Alex catching Razin, and Karim catching Alex. That is going to be an incredible commensation. That is not the right word either. Ending, we'll go simple. Ending to this Bahrain Grand Prix. 13 laps to go. We've got 5 drivers realistically in with a shout of winning this race.
We absolutely do. This is going to be thrilling watching until the end of the Grand Prix. The question is going to be, does Karim have the longevity on the hards? He's done 25, make that 26 laps of those hard tyres as he comes across the start-finish line. You can see the gap, the daylight between those drivers. It's first corner versus 14th corner for Karim and Formula Kai at the moment. This is going to be incredible.
Karim stays out again. I almost feel like Razin, you potentially want him to, if you're Ben, do you want Razin to overtake you so that you can just sit behind the Alpine for a couple of laps and save fuel? Or do you not want to waste those, burn those tyres up, allow Razin, who's on the fresher rubber, to burn his tyres up in the dirty air? Alex Gillen lost a couple of tenths on the previous lap to Razin and Tim Marlock, probably courtesy of a little bit of DRS that the Alpine had. GB's just got the better of Gwatz as well, relegating the Red Bull down into 7th. This has been pretty decent damage limitation for GB, it has to be said, considering how terribly the first 8 laps of this race went. Dropped from 5th on the grid to 11th, then picked up front wing damage, was last after 9 laps in this Bahrain Grand Prix to fight his way back up into 6th place provisionally at the moment. That's a very, very commendable effort.
Commendable indeed. And this is going to be probably one of those Grand Prix that all of our drivers remember for one reason or another. Sauber will not want to remember this for probably more reasons than not, as we do see both of them down in 20th, so DNF and 19th respectively. Razin Chai comes over the team radio. This is like Bahrain Season 5, soft, medium, soft for the Alpine, and that's exactly what he's done. It's Ben just ahead of him that's got a medium, soft, soft, so it is a bit of a split strategy all around. Some drivers opting to use all 3 tyres. Nobody quite sure what the exact quickest option was to be.
You can just see Ben there, wagging the tail of that Mercedes in the dirty air of Formula Kai. He has got considerably more grip than the Haas though. Tim Marlock for what is going to be the first time in about 25 laps should be taking over the net lead of this Grand Prix. Kai's chances may be fading. They've come to blows once in this Grand Prix. Kai to the middle of the circuit. That cannot stop Tim Marlock plundering down the inside. Braver on the brakes. He's got the grip, the traction and the confidence and takes over in 2nd place. Kai is all out of shape on the exit as well. Razin Chalby saying, come on, get on with it. I want to get through as well and help myself to some clean air behind the Mercedes also.
It can't stop Timo Marlock, but it can stop Razin Chai. He's not been able to get past the Haas at the first or second time of asking. He's got the better traction though into the corners, gets the move done as we come down the hill in towards that tricky middle section. I wonder if Kai's going to try and stick behind these two, use the DRS, pull himself forward, or if we're going to see him go into the pits and probably lose a couple of positions at the same time. Strategy has not paid off for Formula Kai here this afternoon.
It has to be said, that instant between himself and Ben is the real killer for Kai in this race. He's undercut every single time by about 7 or 8 laps. He might even have to do a 3-stop in this Grand Prix. We're going to have to watch the progress of GB, Meraki and Infratic behind, see if they can reel in the ailing Haas car of Formula Kai. But it's going to be 5th at best, you would imagine, for Kai at this stage, because Alex Gillen is arriving hot on the scene very, very shortly. Karim stays out again. Now, I just want to raise this topic. 16 seconds he's still got over the group behind. Is Karim going to the end?
I think he certainly could be. He said in team radio just a few moments ago, or a couple of laps ago, that I think he was planning on going till the end of this Grand Prix. Whether he's going to have a double down, I think his mind could be made up for him at the moment. We can have a quick check on last lap times as all of our drivers come across. It was Karim on a 1:31.8, Ben on a 29.7. That's about 2 seconds quicker over the course of the lap. But the question is, we've got 10 laps to go, 15 seconds in it. But let's not forget fuel save here, because Ben is still 0.6 down on a fuel target.
And this might be the time to start saving said fuel as Razin Chai helps himself to second place now. Tukey with a 3-second penalty. Alex Gillen is going to be desperate to get past Formula Kai ASAP, because if he does it now, he can potentially stay within the 1 second window of Razin and Ben in front and make his life a hell of a lot easier.
Absolutely, it's going to be a question mark for all of our drivers to make their way through. Can Razin, Tiamat Marduk, Kai, Gillen, those 4 drivers which we see in our shot at the moment, make their way through towards and reel in Karim 70. 10 laps to go here in this Grand Prix. Is going to be incredibly close. There's been technical gremlins, there's been moments of madness from all of our drivers here this afternoon, but we are on that infamous 10 to go, and we've got 5 drivers who could still get the race win.
And Karim is lapping so consistently at the moment. 31.8, 31.8. 31.8. He's only 0.4 of a second off his personal best. If he can hang on to this, he's about a second and a half, a lap slower than the drivers behind. But their soft tyres are going to degrade at a faster rate. If they're going to converge on each other, they're going to have to speed up a little bit. Razin was a second and a half quicker on the previous lap as Gillen does get up the inside of Kai, almost runs into the rear of Tiamat Marduk as well. But that is ideal stuff for the Season 2 champion. He is now right with Razin and right with Ben.
It's interesting to note here, Razin was a second and a half quicker. Ben was only about 0.3 of a second quicker than Karim on that last lap. The soft tyres have lost a considerable amount of advantage already compared to Karim 70, who does continue to punch through clean air. It's going to be Chai, it's going to be Chai, Tiamat Marduk, Gillen and Kai, who are all battling. This is what's going to lose them time unless they work together like a peloton.
Ben's all over the place at the moment, though. Look at that gap, 8.5 tenths, 9/10 of a second to Razin Chai. The Alpines almost dropped Tiamat Marduk just like that with the click of the fingers. He is just going to get the DRS down into turn number 11. So alarm bells can just be lowered for Tiamat Marduk, but maybe after 7 laps of pushing flat out on those soft compound tyres, maybe he's starting to struggle. And Alex Gillen will most certainly be licking his lips here. Still 10 laps to go, 13.8 seconds the margin out in front. Karim, if he can keep this pace up, is looking very, very handy.
He absolutely is indeed, and we can try and do some mental maths here. We've got less than 8 laps, so actually 8 laps to go as we come across the line. They've got to be now 1.5 seconds quicker every single lap. Let's keep an eye on the lap times. 31.8 again for Karim, 30.5. That's 1.3 seconds quicker for Razin Chai. Very similar story for Tiamat Marduk, who does a 30.5 as well. Alex Gillen, a 29.9. So Gillen could try and run through here on the softest tyres at the moment. He's got the freshest of the front 4. But the question is longevity. That's going to be the pain game as he tries to send one to the inside of Tiamat Marduk. It was an optimistic move even for Gillen.
Well, he was dangling the front wing of the McLaren alongside, but Ben made his feelings very, very clear, chopping across the front wing of Alex Gillen. That was millimetres away from yet another flashpoint, yet another collision between these two great rivals. Tiamat Marduk, I've just been reminded by chat as well, is lifting and coasting to try and recover that fuel. That's probably explaining a little bit of the pace drop-off as he just tries to get back to level par, break even on his fuel with a few laps to go. Then he can go all out come the end of this race when he's got the fuel back under control and give himself an opportunity if they can catch Karim. If not, he's going to be all out for second place.
Absolutely. It's going to be close. I think whatever happens, it's going to go right down towards the wire. How much are these drivers fuel saving? That's going to be the total question. As Karim leaves! Oh no, technical gremlins for our race leader here this afternoon. Wow, we've had a game crash for Formula Karim. That's going to be a lifesaver for the 3 drivers continuing to chase. Make that 4 drivers as we have Chai, Tiamat Marduk, Gillen and Kai, who will be aware of that situation now. This is the moment in Cars 1 where Lightning McQueen has his punctures on the final lap. You have Chick Hicks and the King trying to chase them down for the race win.
And Kareem's been cooking so hard, he's managed to roast his PC, which is not ideal news at all. This is go time now. This will just be the motivation that Razin, Tim, Mark and Alex Gillen would have needed. They would have seen that gap not coming down particularly quickly, going, maybe it's not to beat. Maybe we're not going to catch. Maybe he's absolutely played us for a fiddle with this strategy. As it turns out, luck not on the side of Kareem 70, as it wasn't at this stage last season. Well, he had a lot of bad luck, even though he won the championship. This is an opportunity. The AI is going to be so. We saw Ben lost 4 seconds when he was disconnected, only for about a lap and a half.
Absolutely. This is going to be the almighty battle. How quick can Kareem get back in to the lobby, but also back into his car and get control as we see the time continue to dwindle down. Razin Chai making edge roads in towards the time of our race leader. Ben will follow, as will Alex. Kai tries to follow, but he's considerably dropped off the pace. 1.7 seconds off the back of that Papaya McLaren. We're nearly under 9 seconds now, with just over 7 laps to go.
And Gareth Allen's just said something interesting in our ear as well. Will Kareem's AI bring him into the pits? This could be heartbreaking. We're going to see the AI does stay over to the left-hand side of the circuit, so does continue to soldier on. We've still got 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Remember, everybody, we've still got a long way to go. Some asterisks is there. You don't have to be a genius to work out what is going through Kareem's brain at the moment. 8 seconds is now the margin. It was at 12 just a few moments ago. Alex Gillen coming potentially like an exocet missile down into turn number 1. He's brave on the brakes, just showing the front wing of that McLaren. But Tim Martin was wise to it. Gillen wasn't quite close enough to put him off now, but he's had an excellent run through turns 2 and 3, shown the curb, shown the off circuit as well by Tim Martin, as they continue to stick their teeth into one another. Alex Gillen now on the inside, but he's so late on the brakes, takes Razin, takes Ben with him as well.
My goodness, what have we just seen here this afternoon? Kai goes through all 3 of them. We've seen left on the brakes before for himself. Kai will have got an illegal overtake there for the yellow flag content. Chai gets back through, but look at the gap that's reformed for Kareem, who's back in the race now.
I'm going to bring something to everybody's attention. It's the theory of equilibrium. Kareem 70, unlucky, disconnected from the game, losing 2 seconds a lap. What we've seen now is Alex Gillen go bowling down into turn number 4, take Razin Chai and Tim McMahon out of the equation, give Kareem another 2 seconds into his back pocket, and just turn this race once again completely on its head. Kai's back in the equation as well. He's got P3. Razin Chai, though, is looking very strong because Gillen and Tim McMahon have now got to re-overtake the Haas, who is really struggling on those medium tyres.
I've never seen a more bowling move there this afternoon. Gillen went down the inside, sent Razin and Tiamat to Kingdom Come here this afternoon, but the gap and the chase is still not over. 8.5 seconds as we have Kareem's rejoined. We saw that during the carnage that Alex Gillen did cause, and the question is now, is he going to be even more fired up, try and go for a similar move, or are we going to see a little bit of patience from the Papaya McLaren?
Well, patience clearly not in Alex Gillen's vocabulary after that little move. Maybe it was just put off a little bit. He was battling away with Ben. We saw the team radio that he wasn't particularly pleased with Ben chopping across him. I'm not going to go as far as to say it was a head loss, but maybe just a bit of a miscalculation from Gillen, knowing that the race is very much on when Kareem had disconnected, seeing an opportunity to send it up the inside and just simply getting it slightly wrong.
I think slightly wrong is probably putting a whole load of sugar and coating it in it, as we do hear from Gillen over team radio. How late did I brake? That was a ginormous mistake. Well, not only is Alex Gillen a little bit sorry for his moves, he's also a poet, and he never even knew it. As we make our way through, Razin Chai still 7.4 seconds off the back of Formula Kareem 17. Last lap, Chai was slower by 0.2 of a second. Kai, Simon Mardick and Alex Gillen were, well, Kai was quicker by about 1.5 seconds, so it is still all to play for. Of course, don't forget that carnage that did happen in towards turn 1, but we will wait and see what is going to happen. Are we going to see a resurgence of that? Are we going to see an analytical post or an analytical stream in a couple of days when Clip Corner gets their hands on that moment?
Well, the review, the Creator Series review, going to be very, very interesting. I was expecting that Alex Gillen team radio to be a classic Gillen whoopsie up the inside, just making a bit of a mistake there. Kai's just about clung onto the coattails of Razin in front. 7 seconds is the margin with 5 laps of this Grand Prix to go. At this rate, I think Razin might catch Kareem on the last lap, 1.4 seconds quicker on the previous turn. Ben, you can still see his fuel saving, still down 0.4 laps of fuel sat underneath the rear wing of Kai. Kareem 7 seconds to go. Has got a bit of traffic though with Scotty Designs, by the way.
think he does, and Scotty could be a help or a hindrance here. That is absolutely the gravity of the situation for Karim 70. Will his friends help him? Will the alternate teams maybe play a hindrance? The other house, of course, is of Formula Kai up in third. Are we going to see Scotty Designs, by the way, help out his teammate of Formula Kai hold up our race leader, or will they respect the blue flags like they should do here in a racing scenario? Karim's not quite close enough yet to be concerned about Scotty Designs, by the way, but this could be the ultimate team game like we saw in Baku, just a little bit vice versa.
I mean, even though we've had two very controversial moments, one of them a disconnect, one of them a big collision, let's say, between the three drivers chasing down the race leader, it's still very much all to play for because Razin is dragging Kai, Tierman Marduk and Alex Gillen up to the rear of that Red Bull Racing car. 6.6 seconds is the margin as Karim crosses the line. Might be a little bit less as Razin, Kai, Tierman Marduk and Alex Gillen come round the final corner. Ben apparently from normally Clipper car, but presenter car today, not saving enough fuel. I think he could be at the mercy of Alex Gillen very shortly.
I think that is going to be the question. Who else is up and down on fuel? Of course, we haven't had the traditional safety car that we've come to expect in the F1 Creator Series, powered by EA Sports. It's almost been a weekly feature that Bert Mylander does make his way out of the pits. Gillen, though, looks to the inside of Tierman Marduk. He's playing the patient game now. Doesn't want to cause a repeat of what we saw just a few laps ago. Safso gets past Infratic, though, up to P7, and this is a good position to be in if you are the Mercedes team. Ben's 0.3 down on fuel at the moment. He's still got about 0.1 of a litre to recover at least once a lap, but the question will be, can he recover that fuel and hold off his arch nemesis of Alex Gillen behind him?
So many storylines, aren't there? And we're still only on 54 and 57. 3 more laps of the Bahrain Grand Prix to go. 3.5 laps, technically. Count them down, everybody. They've got traffic as well. Look at that. I think it's Super Noodle Bagel that's just been caught by the 4 chasing cars, I should say. No, it's not. It's just the Alpine is slightly duck egg blue, and that's not the colour that I was expecting it to be. Ignore me!
It'd be really useful if they painted it pink on the track map, just to really differentiate where it is. Instead, we've got 5 blue cars on a track map here at F1 25. But Razin Chai now 5.4 seconds to the deficit of Karim 70. And as soon as he crosses the line, we will update you on his lap sectors. 31.9 for Karim, 30.8 for Razin Chai. So the question could be, 1.1 seconds is the disadvantage. I don't think Chai, with that damage or the contact between himself, Gillen and Tierman Marduk, now has enough in the tank to try and battle forwards. Tierman Marduk and Gillen side by side there with the exit of that squirrel section. Gillen thought about a move to the outside, maybe look for the switchback as well, but he now just has to sit in behind of that Mercedes, follow that rear wing, which he will be incredibly frustrated to see.
And Alex was off the road again, going through turn number 3. Tierman Marduk not just showing him the door, slamming it in the face of Alex Gillen, saying, "You are not going to pass me, my friend." And he will remain in P5 for the time being. Razin Chai taking chunks of time out of Karim in the middle sector. It's come down by a second on this lap. This is not over, everybody. If he gets it under 4 seconds, he is tracking to potentially take 2 seconds a lap. This is not over.
Certainly not over. What we have got to keep an eye on, though, Alex Gillen is on 2 warnings, 1 more, and he could get himself a 3-second penalty, and that will be podium hopes over for Mr. Gillen. Ben, of course, chasing his half-century of podiums here in the F1 Create Series as well. He's got 1 position to make, but 1.2 seconds is the deficit, and continuing to fall as the 22-lap-old hard tyres continue to be better than Ben's new ones. Gillen to the outside of the final couple of corners. Now they're going to run side by side down towards the first corner. It's Gillen that gets ahead, also gets the DRS. Tierman Marduk will have to sit in behind.
Don't just call your chickens just yet. I thought he might have sent it up the inside. That's what Alex Gillen was thinking as well. Very defensive down into turn number 1. Ben's going to get some DRS of his own there, but a little snap coming out of turn number 2 will just put pay to that assault, and you can see the fuel situation that Tierman Marduk's in, changing up very early, lifting off incredibly early, and that will just cool the charge for the former 2-time champion, who is now going to be out of contention. 2 laps to go, 3.8 seconds the margin. Razin was only 1.1 seconds quicker on the previous lap. Karim, with an almighty strategy, he's going to do nearly 40 laps on his hard tyres, might just pull this one off.
That'll be the hope. It's going to be incredibly close. We're on the penultimate lap of racing here, at least, as we head on towards that back straight. 1.5 laps to go here in the F1 Creator Series, powered by EA Sports, and it's still Grim that holds a 3.4 second lead. Razin Chai in second place, Kai in third, who's on 23-lap-old hard tyres. Could we see them come to the better of the 13-lap-old softs that Razin Chai is currently running?
And Kareem now is in a situation where all he has to do is pray he doesn't get a puncture on the final lap. He's going to have comfortably enough time in his back pocket as they start 57 of 57. It should be around about 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds battling away from the podium. Alex Gillen and Tim McMardock are still glued to one another.
Glued is definitely the word, and this battle will certainly go down till the end. Kai now with a fantastic run on Razin Chai, looks towards the inside of the first corner, a little bit of contact between the two of them. Chai tries to switch back, doesn't quite get it perfect this time around, but he'll have the run up towards turn number 4. Rear wing will open for the Alpine this time around. One in Baku. He'll be trying to chase down another podium here this afternoon, potentially another race win. To the outside of the Haas car is shown the curbing, but they're still wheel to wheel. Hard tyres, soft tyres, they are better than equal at the moment as we progress down towards the second sector. Kai goes deep on the brakes, locks up completely, and now Chai has a charge towards the most difficult corner on this circuit.
Got so much more grip. One more chance with the DRS as they come out of turn number 10, almost pushing the Haas through the braking zone. Forget Kareem out in front. He's 3 seconds up the road. This is the battle for second and third. Raz has got the DRS flap open. He's pushed over to the middle of the circuit. Formula Kai banging tyres, but up the inside goes the Alpine, but the switchback somehow. There's still life left in the hard tyres on Formula Kai, and he repels the assault for the time being.
He does, but the slipstream is powerful down towards turns 14 and 15, but we see Karim here cresting over the top of the hill. His ambition was to go long. He had a disconnect, and the cars behind continued to capture him, but it was a colossal moment for Gillen, who went bowling. This afternoon, though, Karim will sing a hymn for the weekend as he wins here in Bahrain. Kai gets the better of Razin Chai as he comes up towards the line. 24-lap-old hards get the better of 15-lap-old softs. Gillen gets the best of Tim Marduk, who crosses the line in 4th and 5th, respectively. GB68 will finish in 6th, with Infratic in 7th. Safto coming home just behind the Scuderia to finish in 8th for some good points, but I think he's run out of fuel.
I think he's just going slowly over the line. It didn't sound like he was out of fuel. He's got 10 seconds to Meraki, to be fair. He's just trying to hold off Vince right at the end. But it is Kareem. Simply lovely. We've heard that one before, haven't we? Get in there. That was brilliant. He had the disconnect. There was a bit of misfortune. He was repaid that, of course, with the collision that took out Razin, that took out Gillen, and took out Tim McMardock. Ben also probably wouldn't have won the race anyway with the fuel troubles he was having. But to actually pull off the one stop and pull it off to such an extent that he won the race with it, unbelievable.
Just to clarify for those at home, he did 39 laps on a set of the hard tyres. Not the longest anybody took a set of the hards this afternoon. It was Guatz that actually took a set of the hards 43 laps right at the end there as he leaves the session, drops down the order as we wait for Scotty Designs, by the way, to come across the line in 16th. 17th will go to Liam Hammond, and it will be Super Noodle Bagel in 18th. 19th, Scott Taylor, and of course Noguera, the only driver actually retiring from this afternoon's endeavours. So that is going to be a fantastic finish for all of our 19 drivers.
And it just spices up the championship ever so much more. Alex Gillen off the podium for only the second time this season, finishing in P4 as he did a few weeks ago in Baku. Kareem with his second win of the season gets back on the podium after 3 races where he didn't score in Miami. 2 races, sorry, he didn't score in Miami and was 5th in Austria reverse a couple of weeks ago, making his feelings and aspirations for a second championship, a back-to-back championship, very, very clear. And a good result for Razin as well. Lost out to Kai right at the death. I think he was not given too much room around the outside of the final corner. But a third place, another podium for Razin. I think will be very, very satisfied with that. Who gets the cleanest driver? It is Ricky 03. It doesn't go to Hayden Gullis. Race winner for Kareem 70. Fastest lap for Ben. And I didn't quite see the rest. I think most overtakes was GB.
I think most overtakes was actually Hayden Gullis that got it right at the end there. He finished up in P11, starting down from P20. But your complete order is Karim, Kai, Razin, Chai, Alex Gillen, Tim and Marduk, GB, Infratic, Safso, Meraki, Dat Guy, Vince as your top 10. With Hayden Gullis, Tuki, it's Ricky03 with Lolly Nova, Liam Hammond, Scotty Designs, by the way, Kwats, Super Noodle Bagel, and Scott Taylor as your top 19. And of course, Maguera, the only driver that didn't finish today's race with that earlier retirement. But that's all from us here in the studio. Over to you, Carl, back in the studio.
Thanks so much, guys. Look at this. The tremendous trios return to your screens. Oh, I mean, what a race. What a race that was. It certainly had a little bit of everything. Technical gremlins, on-track gremlins, just a little bit of spice in Sakir, here, there, and everywhere. But ultimately, the one stop seemed to pay dividends.
It certainly did. It was the way to go in the end, and Karim made it work. Whether by luck or by judgment, I think there's going to be discussions about that going into the future. But alas, he's managed to finish first. And as you say, that is how you win a race.
For sure. Couldn't agree more with you. And you know what? Despite all the chaos as well, there was some great racing out there today, Tom. I think Bahrain lends itself really well to being able to really go into close quarters combat. But racing today did not disappoint one bit.
Really good scraps. Some less so. We don't need to point out which ones they were. We can all remember some of them that weren't quite as clean. But yeah, I think this circuit actually played to the strengths of the F125 physics model. You've got to work hard for your overtakes with the way that the dirty air works. I think we saw that. People were scrapping really, really hard, fighting really, really hard. They knew the importance of track position as well at certain stages of the Grand Prix. And with no safety cars as well, which I was really happy about, it meant we had a really interesting finish. We didn't know who was going to win right until the end. It wasn't just a sprint in the last 8 or 9 laps. I think that is one of the best races of the season so far.
There we go. What a way to kick off the second half of the season. Let's talk strategy quickly, and then we'll get on to the big meat of the horse, which is that contact towards the end between Razin, Alex, and Ben. But the hard tyres today, for a long time, it didn't actually seem like the proper play. They struggled to warm up for such a long time, particularly Alex Gillen in that second stint, really bearing the brunt of that that not aggressive tyre warm-up.
Sorry, apologies. I thought you were going to continue on with that. But no, it was definitely a bit of a challenging start. Obviously, we saw different creators have different strategies of attack, let's put it that way, from the formation lap. Obviously, Kai with those tyres that just couldn't get any temperature in. He got disqualified slightly earlier on. So we knew from the offset, the moment that Kai really struggled to get away, that tyre temperature was going to be an issue. We had a real fluctuation in the track temperature as well. It kind of started about here, went down and regained up towards the end. So it must have been really difficult, especially for those as we mid pits.
Well, we'll talk about the contact in a hot moment. But ladies and gentlemen, let's bring in the race winner, shall we? Oh no, never mind. Alex Gillen's here. Hello, Alex Gillen. Welcome in. It seemed like a bit of a slug out for you out there today, particularly that second stint. But despite that, some good points on the board for you today.
I can't say I'm happy with that result. Definitely should have been on the podium, but my big mistake, just watching it back on stream actually, my big mistake caused us all to spin, which actually with hindsight ended up being good because it meant Karim didn't get shafted out of his win for the disconnection. So in the end, I'm not too upset with it, but just a very silly mistake. Should have been a P3, should have been fighting for P2. But you know what? With a big mistake in the race, P4 is not too bad, but you are right. It was a slog today. No safety cars as well. It was difficult. Just didn't seem to have the raw pace today.
For sure, particularly that second stint, let's talk about. The hard tyres seem like a really counterproductive tyre compound, particularly the front right I saw, constantly struggling to get up to temperature. Just how important was it to keep pace in that second stint in particular?
Yeah, that was definitely the reason I boxed actually, because it looked like I didn't quite have the pace today. Karim had already got me out of DRS range, and because that front right was so cold, I was like, I think I'm better off boxing here and going for softs. I think we can catch Karim if we work together. But yeah, just couldn't get it warm. I think maybe should have gone a bit low on that front right pressure to allow that to warm up a little bit. It was not really an issue though on the softs or mediums, but just the hard staying a little bit cold and just definitely cost me a bit of pace. The hard was not a good tyre, which is why I ended up boxing at the end there for the second pit stop, which maybe with hindsight was a mistake. But honestly, as I said, I don't think I had the pace anyway. So if I was in DRS range of Karim, I think I probably would have stayed with him and stayed out and not boxed. But as he got me away, I was like, let's try it. Let's go the softs. But clearly, Karim had the better strategy and the better pace today, deserving winner.
Well, we'll gloss over Sakir for now, as I want to talk. You're still leading the championship. I know Razin and Kareem have cut into your lead slightly, but GB having a bit of a duff race. You still lead that championship. We've just passed the halfway point of the season. What is your biggest set of learnings that you've had currently driving on F125 so far?
Well, it's been all about dirty air, really, and strategy. Tyre wear being so much higher than last year's game, and dirty air actually existing now. So it's been really tactical. It was super difficult to overtake today, but definitely possible. You just had to really build up to it. You couldn't just go, right, I'm going to go now. You had to really be like, right, let's make this guy burn a bit of battery and make sure we're keeping it clean, not make any mistakes, and capitalise on other people's mistakes. It's super tactical. But yeah, I'm happy with P4 today. As you said, going for the championship this season. I am missing another race, which is definitely going to compromise me. But P4 is not bad. Obviously, I wanted more, but P4 is still good. I'm still maintaining a good average, consistent result set, so I'll take it.
Consistency is key, and you're certainly keeping that, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Gillen, congratulations on your P4 today.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Brilliant. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's bring in our podium dwellers, starting from the very bottom. Let's go for P3. It's Razin Chai, ladies and gentlemen. When he is indeed dragged in. Razin, welcome in, sir. P3 on the road in the end. We'll talk about that defining moment in a couple of moments' time. But a podium, nonetheless, you cut into that championship lead just a little bit today.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take a podium. I think, obviously, the defining moments, as many people know, with the killing dive bomb. Unfortunately, cost us a win run out of win. At the same time, Karim disconnected, so I see it balancing out. It's fair enough. The only downside to it is I brought Kai back in, and I couldn't recharge. My tires are going off, and yeah, unfortunately, we had a sparse while Kai dead. It was very elbows out, but hey, it is what it is, the last lap. So unfortunately P3, but could be more.
Of course, yeah. I highlight what you were saying mid-race, which is that it held big similarities to Season 5. Like you said, the soft, the medium, and the soft being your preferred strategy for today. Was there ever any crossing of minds between going for hard tyres, or was it always the two softer compounds you were going to use today?
I mean, in my mind, so I didn't know anything about the strategy or the setup. I just pretty much applied last second. I didn't do any laps, pretty much. So I just went in with no knowledge, pretty much. But I thought, okay, the softs at the start weren't too bad. Mediums felt right. But I think the play was the softs at the end. I wasn't actually going to do soft, medium, medium, but I think just seeing how good that opening stint was, we decided to go soft, medium, soft.
That's very good indeed. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes all you need to get a podium is vibes. That's what we've learned today. We'll look away from Bahrain because, well, actually no, I won't, because your start was absolutely rapid. If there's anything positive to take from today, you shot off the starting blocks. Just talk us through that quickly.
I don't know what happened to Kai. He just didn't move, or like he had a delayed reaction or something. But we nailed the reaction time. And obviously we jumped Gillen straight away as well. So a really good start. It's just unfortunate because Kai was P2 at the time and me going side by side with Gillen. Obviously allowed Karim to drop straight away, drop us, and from there was pretty much a difficult task to get back in. He had crazy insane pace, but it was a good start. We take those.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more with you. Looking forwards then to races in the future. You've got Spa and Hungary coming up, particularly focusing on Spa. Just a couple of quick words. How are you feeling for that one?
Yeah, Spa will be an interesting one. I think it's going to be the widest one open, I reckon. It's the long track, of course, but Spa's notoriously quite a good track for most on the grid. So it's not going to be an easy one. We're going to be aiming to keep up the podium streak we've got going on. But in Hungary, well, we have to see.
No, for sure. Well, there you go. Keeping the consistency, ladies and gentlemen. And P3 today at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Razin, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much, guys.
Well, there we go. That's P3 signed, sealed, and delivered. Now let's head over to the second place podium dweller, Formula Kai. Welcome in, sir. I don't know if you were thinking you would be here about 5 or so laps from the end, but once that contact was made, that last lap in particular looked really tasty. Talk us through that.
Thank you, sir. It was beautiful. All three of them spinning out together. Unfortunately, I got an illegal overtake on Razin, so I had to let him through, but that allowed for some really cool battles on the last lap. Oh my god, that was crazy.
For sure. Nothing like a bit of synchronized spinning to balance the odds just a little bit. So, talk us through strategy today in particular, and I want to focus on that hard compound tire. A lot of people seem to struggle with getting temperature into it, getting pace. I heard from your end that actually you could just push as much as you want. So how did you gauge that towards the end of the race?
Well, when I had the incident with Ben during the first stint, it kind of left me no choice. So I had to go for a really bold move, really early undercut. And when I put on the hards, it was I just couldn't believe the tire wear. I had like maybe 1.5, 2% a lap. So this got me thinking, and my tires after a lap or two were still cold. So this got me thinking, okay, so low tire wear, low temps. This means I can push flat out like a maniac for the rest of the stint. And that's what I did, which allowed me to stay close enough to the guys on the softs, and at the end, capitulate when their softs basically died out.
It's all very interesting indeed. I'm just looking now. Of course, you got 4 podiums in total now in the Creator Series. Your second podium of the season. May we see a race win in Spa coming up soon?
Oh, I hope so. I've been chasing that elusive win ever since Great Britain last year. But hopefully, I'm pretty confident around Belgium. Let's see what we can do there.
I like the confidence. Final thing from me. Obviously, we've had the first half of this Creator Series season. We've had F125 out for about a month and a half or so. What have you really learned from all of this, and are you enjoying your time on F125?
I've learned that moves, when you decide to go for them, can be absolutely critical in the race. It's not like just last year when we could just go 5 wide because Tertiary was non-existent. But now you got to make your moves when you need to make them, because you can make them too early or a little too late. You could just get shafted completely. So strategy is a very big thing this year, and I love it.
Fantastic, and long may it continue when we head to Spa next week. Kai, thank you for talking to us, and a big congratulations on P2
Thanks for
today.
having us. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all.
I'll
man.
see you
Have a good
soon,
one.
guys. Cheers.
I like his confidence. He'll see us soon. He might well be on the podium next week as well. Watch this space. But there's only one man that can stay triumphant. It's 3 times on the trot in Bahrain. The cream of the crop rises to the top. And boy, he stayed there. Kareem, a win on the books. Another win on the books in Season X. I can only imagine how you're feeling right now after that.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a roller coaster at the end. Yeah, what a race. I finally found my F124 pace again. I don't know if it will stay, but at least for one race I found it, which I'm glad about. And yeah, the strategy was on point, midway through the race. Talking with my chat, we switched over to a one-stop. I sort of knew the hards would be a good tyre. I knew the mediums weren't that great, especially the first stint. Alex was barely quicker than me, and I was on walled soft, so I need to go to hards. And then I realized, oh wait, I can one-stop. So I did that, disconnected, came back, they crashed, I win. Easy.
Very succinctly put, sir. Look at that hard tyre stint that you had particularly towards, at the beginning I'll focus on, because a lot of people were really, really struggling to get temperature into the tyres, find any pace, particularly in that front right tyre. But am I right in saying it just seemed like weathering the storm, because towards the end, your pace seemed properly consistent?
Yeah, the hards were probably even better than I expected in terms of consistency. The softs were actually a pretty good tyre as well. Obviously they wear quite fast, but compared to the mediums, the wear is similar enough, and the softer step in the compound means you keep your pace advantage for some reason in Bahrain. So yeah, weather in the storm, I did kind of get lucky to escape in the beginning, with Kai getting a bad start and Alex and Razin battling. But yeah, I just did my pace, kept a nice gap. Once they caught up, I said, okay, I'm pitting. And yeah, then on the hards, stayed with Razin on the mediums. I was surprised they didn't make more moves. Me and Razin had a small battle right after we did our first pit stops. But then after that, they were just sitting there. I don't know if they couldn't get past me because of dirty air, or I had too much straight line speed, or they were chilling. I think maybe a mix of all of those. But yeah, if they'd have gone for more moves there, tried to put me a bit further down the order, that probably would have helped them a bit more.
Well, you don't need me to tell you this, because I'm sure you already know, but it's the perfect Bahrain weekend for you. It's Inter's pole, it's pole position, it's the race win, and, well, you've reduced the Riz in the championship now to 24 points. After the DNF last week, how important was it to bounce back in such a prolific way?
Yeah, really important. Honestly, I would have taken a podium today. And my main aim is to beat Gillen, obviously. But yeah, this is exactly what I needed. You know, point for Inter's pole, good pace, you know, confidence in the car, in the strategy. Everything went right today. So if I can have more weekends like that, and with Alex missing one more race, it should be a spicy finish. Hopefully, a spicy finish. That's what I want to give all the fans out there. But yeah, it was important to bounce back today, and I'm glad I did what I did.
We're very much looking forward to it. Just quickly to finish off then, looking forwards, we've got Spa next, return of wildcards as well as a result. So what's your pace looking like for Spa? Got the confidence in you, and what kind of wildcard would you like to see potentially?
Yeah, Spa's a pretty good track for me, I'd say. Didn't go so well last time, I think because of the sim damage wildcard, so hopefully not that wildcard this time. Other than that, I'm not too sure. Not too sure what kind of wildcard I'd want, but hopefully nothing like sim damage.
Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. We'll ignore the wildcards for now. Go and enjoy it. Revel in glory. Kareem 7T, ladies and gentlemen. Your race winner today. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
I will also mention at this particular point, Gareth Allen, our producer, gave a very sinister laugh when Kareem said about sim damage. Just saying, I don't know what you want to take from that, but it is up in the air. So, without further ado, let's gloss over that and look at the driver's standings. We've got Tom Wilkinson also alongside me. Like I said, Kareem reducing the arrears, 24 points now is that gap. Reduced by a little bit. A bit of a duff weekend, though, for GB, allowing those three, again, Kareem, GB and Razin, to become congested in 2nd through 4th. But they've got to keep up this momentum. They've got to put the pressure on Alex Gillen.
100%. Kareem in particular, he said it himself, he hasn't, for this game cycle, felt quite as confident as he did at the end of 24 when he was quite clearly the quickest driver in the Create Series. Just wasn't necessarily the best at executing results. On this game cycle, I think he's much better at executing results and maximising his weekends. Just hasn't quite felt as comfortable. But this is the first time, like he said, that we saw F1 24 Kareem. 24 points with Alex Gillen missing a race in a few weeks' time. That is going to be concerning for Gillen with the pace that Kareem has come up with. GB and Razin, though, neither of them should be discounted. I think GB did a really good salvage job to come back in P6. Decent haul of points. I would say it is only a 4-horse race. 60 points that Formula Kai needs to try and pull out of somewhere in the final 7 races. Can't see that happening. Same for Ben, same for Meraki.
I agree with you. I concur completely. Although, kudos to Kai and Tiamat Marduk where it is due, getting a decent haul of points. Now 5th and 6th in the championship. So fair play to those two as well. Getting good gains from Bahrain. Constructors standings though, hello. It's still very spicy. There's 4 that are trying to escape here. The Prancing Horses looking to try and catch up in this horse course. But Red Bull now with the lead by 8 points. McLaren, Alpine and Aston though, not far behind. Still remains extremely spicy.
100%. You're looking at those 4 Ferrari. Both of them were a little bit off it. Fabio had really good quality pace, struggled massively on those hard tyres. We heard Alex say he didn't feel like the hard tyres were particularly good. Jake just had a bit of a messy one, came through to finish. I think he was P8 in the end in the lower reach of the top 10. Didn't quite maximise it. Mercedes, decent haul of points again, but I think similar to drivers, we're looking at 4 teams. You've got the pedigree of Aston Martin, won it multiple times before. You've got Alpine with 2 former champions. You've got McLaren, the reigning champions. And then you've got Red Bull with the reigning drivers champion and Gwatz, who has been a little bit up and down, but his ceiling is very, very high.
We surely have that to look forward to. Hopefully he can show the searing pace in Spa, but all of that remains to be seen. Well, I think there's a big talking point out of all of this before we get on to driver of the day, etc. That lap, I think it was 51 contact between Gillen, Razin and Tiamat Marduk. I'll get both of your opinions on this, but controversial to say the least, but a big mistake from Alex Gillen, which admittedly he did own up to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that does happen in racing. We've seen it in real life as well. Obviously, quite famously, Bottas at Hungary just a few years ago. And when you're going 2-3 cars into a really slow corner from such a high-speed straight, it's part of racing. It's bound to happen. He was ambitious. This time it didn't pay off.
For sure. Tom Wilkinson, your thoughts on it? Because it turned Razin's race in particular into a race of hindsight. Ben had to save that fuel. Alex Gillen, by his own admission, didn't really think he had the pace today. So all just turned to a bit of hindsight for the Alpine man.
100%. I think Razin looked really quick. He did struggle. You saw at the end just struggling with the tyre. I think Kai did a really good job once he got back into contention with that collision to cling on. I didn't expect him to do that, to be honest, with the age of his tyres. And the fact that the hard tyres, I know Kareem made them sing, but Kai just didn't look that comfortable throughout the entire stint on those hard tyres. They reeled him in very, very quickly. They got past him and then they dropped him fairly quickly as well. So I think he did a very, very commendable job. For Ben as well, I think he's probably the one that thinks that's maybe a missed opportunity. He lost 5 seconds with that disconnection, which happened halfway through the race. If that didn't happen, maybe that collision didn't happen, maybe Ben would have been right there with Kareem. We obviously know he had the fuel issues as well, so that could have detracted from that. But I think there were a lot of if, buts and maybes for a lot of drivers that don't have a name that begins with K. And not Kai, because I forgot that.
Yes, no, you're quite right. You are quite right. It was a day of disconnects, but equally a race of beauty in Bahrain. The big questions then, let's rattle through them. First of all, driver of the day, Tom Knight. Who would you give it to today?
It's one of those that it's so easy to turn around and go, yeah, it has to be Karim, because he drove, as you said, not only a perfect race, but a perfect weekend as well. But there's a couple of other drivers that maybe had a good race. I mean, Razin was a good comeback. Ben with the issues that he might have found himself from the start. But I think there's when you look at the grand total of things and how it kind of all came together, I think I've got to give it to Karim.
Excellent. Good stuff. Tom Wilkinson, what do you think?
Ditto. I say every single week I don't like giving it to the race winner, but with the strategy he pulled off and he disconnected, he had the one-stop strategy. He had to work really hard to make those hard tyres last. He said that he wasn't planning on going for the one-stop. He was thinking about the two-stop and then switched midway through the race. So that would have required a lot of management. I couldn't give it to anybody else. If Ben maybe didn't tap the back of Kai earlier on in the Grand Prix, maybe I would consider him, but obviously he had the fuel issues as well, just didn't quite come together. I think it would be harsh not to give it to Kareem.
I think we're going 3 for 3 with Kareem here, because I think he also gets my driver of the day by admission. Although, for pure entertainment value, Meraki was absolutely wonderful to watch. I will say that much. Double overtake, we saw it on a couple of cars. I think it was lap 37. And a bunch of others besides. For entertainment value, he's right up there for me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a day of racing it has been in the F1 Creator Series. Hope you've all enjoyed the ride, because it has been a roller coaster. If you did enjoy, by the way, if you're not following, consider giving it a follow. Press that lovely follow button down below, and there are a bunch of socials plastered above our heads. Go and follow all those to stay in tune with all of the goings on in the Creator Series. They do need a bit of an update, but if you search up Creator Series on all of those platforms, you will find us there. Big shout outs to Sim Racing Setup as well. !SRS and use the code, please. Thank you. And check out our website, creatorseries.gg, because that's the home of all things Creator Series. Tom, what a pleasure it's been, gentlemen, honestly. And what commentary you have called tonight. I particularly enjoyed the absolute myriad of Coldplay references. Those did not go unnoticed. But first of all, Tom Knight, where can we find you on an internet?
Everything at They Call Me TK. It's been a pleasure to do the commentary and, of course, have you presenting our show here, Carl. And hey, maybe we have to sneak 1 or 2 more after that lovely gig reference you did. Tom Wilkinson, how about yourself? Where can they check out your stuff?
Firstly, echo the same things. Pleasure to jump back in. Everybody smashed it. Gareth Allen, shout at him. I only do it because I know that it really winds him up. So make sure if you're in the chat, say well done to Gareth Allen. If you're interested in my stuff, Twitter at TW6, on TikTok and Instagram, wilco.darts or wilco.coms.
A new
Fantastic.
one.
Oh, yes, a new one. Yes. Go and follow it, everyone. We implore you. As for me, you can find me, probably not, as a matter of fact, on the outer reaches of the Arctic Circle. You won't find me there. But you will find me at Everything Carl Paranik. If you type my name in on pretty much any social media, you'll probably find me there. Gents, what a pleasure it has been to call the action with all of you here at Bahrain. Gareth, thank you for all the production. We all made it, and that's the main thing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching round number 7 of Season X of the Creator Series. Where we're heading to next, there's almost no place more historic. We're off to Spa-Francorchamps. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And for myself, from Tom Knight and Tom Wilkinson, it's goodbye.